All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Kavanagh, taking a look and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC 326 Holloway versus Oliveira 2. And to do all of that with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend. He is not Mexican, but his mustache says otherwise. Mr. Chase Parton, how are you, brother?
I am very, very good. I am very excited to talk about fights today. Of course, it is Monday. We had a jam-packed weekend full of things to talk about, I guess. But, leave a little on the back burner and we'll talk about the main stuff, of course. But I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's I did a ton of fight watching, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw. But yeah, we had a great weekend of fights. I mean, this was a really nice card down there in Mexico. Very glad that there were no problems with any of the political unrest and all of the things that were going on down there. Card went off without a hitch. Everybody seemed to be safe, and we had some pretty interesting fights. How'd you like everything?
Honestly, this was a pretty I don't know if I'm just been in a really good mood lately, but this was also a very good card. I think we're kind of going upward in the trajectory of the entertainment value, I would say.
Yeah, well, that's funny that you say that too, because there has been a lot of discussion about the quality level of the fights in general since the Paramount deal and what we've been getting. And I think overall, I'm in agreement here. It's like I've never really thought that they were like too bad to begin with. I thought we've been getting pretty decent stuff overall. But I think that we're kind of letting the tide rise a little bit, and everything's going pretty all right with this.
I think another thing is because I even said it last week about some of the fights that everybody would agree were a little slow and a little sluggish, and I had a great time watching people lose. I think I've just come around to accepting, people can just suck, and like you don't have to hate yourself for picking them because it's not your fault, brother. It is not your fault out there, guys, that somebody loses the fight and you pick them. You could have all the reasoning in the world, logic could be on your side, and you will be made a fool. Just don't feel bad at all. It's not even your fault. So just have a great time and just start rooting for the other person. Just start rooting for the other person. That's like, man, whoop his fucking ass. But we'll talk about it.
I love that thought process, and I'm going to take that and keep that with me next time that I am getting roasted by the chat. So, because that certainly seems to be happening more and more, and that is perfectly okay. Go ahead and say your piece when I am completely and utterly wrong. Although it did pretty decent on the predictions this week. Of course, we'll talk about all of that. But before we get into the UFC, just wanted to go over briefly a couple of the things that I watched, because as I said, I did do a lot of watching of outside organizations this week. And Chase, it was a very Hispanic centric. It was El Mundo Hispano this week over here at Yama, because we did a number of Latino organizations, and it was very cool to see some stuff from that side of the world. Starting off with this card here, this was Inca FC. This is Inca 54, Mazzetti versus Murillo. Or excuse yeah, Murillo. I wanted to bring this up. The card was pretty good. The thing that was funny about this was that they had referees. They might as well have not had referees. These guys did not call a single foul when there were many, many of them to call. I at least counted maybe 5 or 6 just in the course of action. Referees were being very lenient, let these guys fight kind of thing. The card itself was pretty okay. Really wanted to highlight the main event, though, for 2 reasons. Number one, it was a great fight. This was really a very quality main event. And number 2, the uncle of Giovanni Mazzetti was in the chat. And he's a dude named Italo. So shout out to a new homie, a new friend of the stream, Italo, who was not only giving us the inside information on Inca, but also helping to translate a little bit, because we had a lot of Spanish speakers in the chat. So that was very appreciated. Unfortunately, Giovanni did not win his fight, but this was a very high quality fight overall. I mean, Diego Murillo here is probably going to be someone that you should watch out for on the Contender Series, I would think. He had a lot of adversity early on in this fight, ended up overcoming that, coming from behind, getting a really nice win in the end. So just wanted to shout those guys out. And also, Giovanni Mazzetti's brother, Gabriel, is also a fighter. He is coming up through the PI down there in Mexico, and he was on an event called Budo Cento Championship that was in Mexico. Unfortunately, I got my times a little mixed up. I did not was not able to watch that event live. So I do not know if he won his fight, but next time that Italo's in the chat, I'll have to ask him about that. Either way, shout out to Giovanni Mazzetti. He fought really well, and it was a very tough fight. He has nothing to be ashamed of in losing that fight.
Okay, so I have my things. What I would say. So this took place in Peru, right? Is that
Correct.
where it says? Okay,
Inca FC
so
is out of Lima, Peru.
gotcha. So when you're talking about the ref leniency, this just sounds like the reasoning of why we have such tough fighters coming out of these regions. Honestly, if the ref don't give a shit, I mean, it's gonna be you're gonna get better experience with the ref being a lot more lenient than if the ref is cutting everything early. If he's not giving you the opportunity, I remember back on Contender Series there was this one guy, and when he got knocked down, his first instinct was butt scoot to the cage. I was like, that's a dude who has been knocked down plenty of times, and they did not stop the fight, so he knows what he's got to do to survive. So what I would say is, shout out to them on that regard. I will give them, I'll give them a pass, man. If
Yeah.
they're, maybe it was bad, but listen, maybe there's some real tough fighters about that. Mazzetti might have be a really tough fighter coming off a loss now. I don't know.
And you're making a good point. It's like, look, you if you are thrown to the wolves in the regionals, then you should know that like having the referee as like your lifeline, your life preserver is not always going to be the case. So sometimes it be like that. Exactly what you've always said, Chase. It's like whether or not there are the rules, I do acknowledge that it's like sometimes the refs will miss things. Sometimes the refs are not good. All of the things that we always say. So like, as much as you want things to be as fair as possible, sometimes they're just not. So this is a trial by fire. And yeah, both these guys really coming through in a big way in this fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kind of dig it. You're always trying to put me onto these other promotions, and one of these days when we're able to have the schedules for it, I promise we are going to catch some more and more live events that come from this region, South America. Shout out! I'm very excited to talk about more, of course.
Absolutely. So yes, we'll talk about the next one as well. And shout out to Inca. Definitely a promotion I would watch again. We're trying to my goal for Yama in general is to have a watch along for every single promotion. So if you
Mhm.
see a lot of variety, that is why I want to be experience as much mixed martial arts and combat sports from around the world as possible. So next up in that vein is this one here. This is Combate Global. This is one that I'm pretty familiar with because this is I don't know his exact title, but this is the promotion of Campbell McLaren, who is a co-founder of the UFC. This is what he is doing now. So I follow him on LinkedIn. I've interacted with him in limited capacities a couple of times, and this is what his promotion. So I've been wanting to see this. This also was, I believe, like either relaunch or like the new season, quote unquote, however you define that, for Combate Global. At least the new start of their broadcast deal with Estrella TV, which I believe is a broadcast to the Latin market. This is a promotion that is primarily broadcast in Spanish. So commentary is in Spanish, and the ring announcements are in Spanish. I think they do English/Spanish for a little bit of it, but primarily Spanish promotion. And I have to say about this, we talked about RWS being, an amazing presentation. This is like the venue that they have for this promotion is like an upgraded version of the Apex. It is so cool with the visuals that you see as far as like how the fights are presented. It's got this really like cool entryway for the fighters to come through with these big LED screens, and it's just a really cool organization to watch for, not only for the fights but also for the visuals of everything.
Was there any choreographed dance entrances?
Not on this one. They had everybody coming out solo. So, no choreographed dance routines yet, but anything can happen in the future. I mean, they're just starting to get this new season, or however you define that, get off the ground. Perhaps we are going to be seeing some crazy choreographing going on. But to that point though, when you talking about the entrances, there was this like big statue that was off to the side, which I didn't know what it was. I speculate that maybe it's a trophy of some sort, the same way that one championship has the belt, like right there by the entry to the cage or the ring. I think it might have been that, but it was like, it almost looked like an urn. And that was kind of the thing that was a little bit funny about the entrances for this show. But yeah, I don't know for sure what it was.
No, this is actually where did this one take place? What was the
So this is a venue that they have as almost akin to an Apex. So that takes place in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yes. I remember I was in your stream and we were talking about this because I remember my guy Cruz Garcia, and I said, man, that's a name right there that I can recognize. And then I look at the names right here, and they're like, yeah, these are all I can recognize them all. Janet Garcia, of course, Hernandez, Padron. I mean, Chavs. Listen, this is the type of shit that I'm talking about, guys. This is what I need in the UFC more. If we're going to Mexico, these are the last names I need to see all over the card. Just saying. Just saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, you're probably going to see a couple of these. Perhaps, of course, we will talk about Regina Terran, who's coming up on the UFC card, who comes from Combate. So, yeah, I mean, really don't need to talk. There were actually a good amount of finishes on this card. So it was pretty good. Abbreviated card. Only a couple of these fights, really. I think it was 4 fights total, even though there are 5 on here. One did not end up taking place. So kind of a short little stream as far as what we watched. Really wanted to give a shout out to Jawi Mendez in the main event. This guy, John Patron, is from Central Florida and was acting like a complete fool. He was Kevin Hollanding his way through this fight, talking and emoting and doing all of this extracurricular nonsense. Ended up getting finished in the end. So shout out to the Mexican Jake Paul, they called Mendez.
Oh, that is certainly a name that you could live up to, I guess. So shout out him. Yeah, no,
Perhaps.
that's unfortunate that the guy that you had to be repping, like when it came out, that's who you were on the side of, obviously a hometown guy, and then he just didn't give you the looks, man. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I definitely I had some choice words for him being a Central Florida representative. But yeah, I mean, really a bunch of decent finishes. Like I said, this Tony Cortez got a finish. I believe it was Janet Garcia, who you mentioned, who got a finish as well. So nice to see a finish in a ladies' fight. And the other fight that took place, I believe, was Jaden Ortega versus Ricardo Chavez. Jaden Ortega got a finish as well. So I think pretty much 4 fights, 4 finishes. This was a decent presentation. I enjoyed this.
Oh, is this the one where you had the really quick stream?
Yeah, it was like 2 hours total, I think.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was like, man, am I not seeing the entire picture? But no, yeah, guys, if you did not know, there's a really quick in and out stream that you can have with Thinker. He just had it a couple days ago for this event, and it was pretty exciting. And obviously, in and out, like, get you a couple of hours of watch time for him. Just shout out him. Go like
Well,
it real quick.
hey, appreciate that, and absolutely. And then this is the VOD for this is on the Combate Global channel, so you can definitely watch and sync it up if you'd like to. But I guess the only other last thing I had to say is that the ring announcer is a lady for Combate Global, and she is very nice.
Nice. Hell yeah. Shout out
So.
ring announcer lady.
Indeed. And then the final thing I wanted to mention, we've been doing a lot of Muay Thai on Sundays now, or at least seems to be that people are enjoying doing Muay Thai Sundays. And our good friends over at RWS are continuing to deliver. So we are continuing to watch. The ones that I wanted to mention here, just very quickly, had to give a shout out to Marie Rumette. She is another very lovely lady who just became the inaugural female flyweight champion in RWS. And also our dude, Jeroen Suk, who he had a very tough fight with Captain Team, the other guy who he was fighting, dude named Captain Team. Captain Team was whipping his ass for like I think the first 2 rounds or something like that, maybe even 3, and came back and just got a flatline knockout. So very nice there. And then the last person I had to shout out is my dude Kane Sack. This guy here is a fucking annihilator. He's my favorite RWS fighter right now. This guy came in, he had the most flawless performance. One thing that I had said, and I understand that this is part of Muay Thai, so I'm not trying to diss this specifically, but there are a lot of fighters that go directly into the clinch, and you see very clinch heavy fights. More, again, Muay Thai, you understand that to be the case. Kansak, this dude, he did not need the clinch whatsoever. He was styling on this guy, Yasser. Got a nice finish off of it. Like I said, my new favorite guy in RWS right there.
My things that I would have to say is obviously Captain Team. He has to be good. He put the whole team on his name. I mean, he's the captain team. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's 4D really. He's not. Maybe he is the entire team in one, like a transformer, like whatever. So the other thing I'd have to say, you're not even gonna give him shout out to Superman. Clark Kent is on this fucking card, dude.
Well, no,
Did
that
you not recognize him with the glasses or something?
brother, go and watch we had so much fun on this. This was actually really one of the like the most fun streams of recent memory here. But yes, actually, I'm glad you brought up the Superman fight because yes, Superman fought a dude named Carrion Scoope, I believe, Scoop, whatever, however you pronounce his last name. But Kyrian over here, this guy out of France, annihilated Superman. We were calling him Kryptonite Kyrian. because this dude was really pretty good as well. And Superman, he met his demise. Unfortunately, this guy is a world ender.
I think another thing that I'm really happy to see with RWS is, with these lower level, with the lower level Muay Thai. I mean, it's not necessarily lower level, but below one. One still has a good amount of different regional guys other than Thailand or other Asian regions. But this right here, I'm liking it. We're still seeing some France. We're still seeing some. What is this? Mexico? No, that's Iran down at the bottom on the bottom
Yeah,
right.
well, we were
England.
talking about
What?
that a little bit.
And then what is Marie from? Where's Marie?
Maria's from Estonia, actually. One of the least represented countries as far as combat sports goes, as far as I can surmise. I mean, really, we were trying to rack our brains to think of any other Estonian fighters, and nobody sprang to mind immediately. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Marie doing it for Estonia.
Hell yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I definitely want to tune into these. I love it.
Guys, I'm telling you, we generally we do it as a rewatch. These air on Saturdays, and it conflicts with the UFC generally, but the VOD is there. We sync up. Come and hang out for these if you are interested, because these cards have been really fun. And I'm telling you, the RWS Stadium, which is the oldest Muay Thai stadium in the world, by the way, we found this out also, built in 1942. So this is a historic venue. It looks amazing. The fights are very fun, and we have a grand old time on these streams.
I feel like that just doesn't, and maybe I'm questioning, but 1942? You're going to tell
Correct?
me
Yeah.
they didn't have an arena to do Muay Thai until 1942? Or you said it was the biggest or the
No,
first?
that's the first actual arena. They were doing Muay Thai for way longer than that, but this was the first venue that was built specifically for it.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Now I'm getting it. Gotcha. No, that is pretty cool. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
Mm.
so this was a lot of fun. Like I said, come around for these watch alongs. You will not be disappointed, I promise. So yeah,
You know what's crazy? They
yes,
have like 4 different Muay Thai arenas down there. So they have the Lupini Stadium, which isn't Muay Thai specific, but and then the one that this other promotion that airs on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like Extreme Muay Thai, something like that. I'll have to figure it out for you guys. That is in another arena, but it's like right across the street from the Lupini Stadium. So I would assume this one's maybe just down the block, and then maybe there's another one. There's like probably a McDojo or two, I would say, but some of them are awesome. And then I obviously love the RWS setup.
absolutely. I mean, you're what I said on the watch along. You're exactly right. I mean, Thailand is a fight culture unlike any other fight culture. When we talk about fight culture, it's like you can talk about a fight culture as like in the United States, there is a fight culture amongst fight people, but like it is ingrained in the being of the Thai people there. So
Yeah.
yeah, having multiple arenas for it, fights around the corner every day of the week, basically. RWS, I believe, does do Muay Thai every day of the week. It's just these are like their bigger events are on the Saturday night. So shout out to Thailand, man. I mean, it must be an amazing place if you are a fight fan.
100%. And speaking of shout outs, we're
Yes,
obviously going to go ahead and give big shout outs real quick before we get into the UFC.
sure.
Obviously, the chat has been here going crazy. So we're going to give a big shout out to everybody real quick. One, I want to give a shout out to Hydra. I know he wasn't the first, but I want to call Thinker the LinkedIn warrior real quick so he has a laugh.
Thank
But
you.
also Meat Rocket, John Dong. I saw Bleeding Edge. I saw fucking God damn it.
Jeremy Hall was here.
Jeremy Hall. Don't you fucking start. I knew it. Hold on. We're gonna get to everybody. Tyler was the first, by the way. Tyler was first. Meat Rocket was there. Bleeding Edge and John Dong. We already got you again. Hydra. And you know what? Shout out Rick Allen. I didn't see him there, but he's got to be there. And Michael. Michael. I almost said Matthew, but that ain't it.
Hey,
It's Michael. He's out there.
appreciate you, exactly. And Rick Allen, the just a legend of the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is no. He's a wholly unique individual, and he is with us in spirit even when he is not here. So
Hell yeah. And
very
then
good.
Meat Rocket said Thinker St. John.
Yeah, that was yeah. I got that. I also did want to address this real quick because he did ask about Deep. I talked about Deep on the show a couple of weeks ago. So this is the thing with Deep, and I'll just real quick say it. Deep, I believe that if you were there for the Deep stream that we did, it was like we started off as a free stream and then it went to members only. We're gonna have to see how that goes with Deep because I believe that most of their events that they do on YouTube are supposed to be behind the paywall. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do Deep without having to get to actually pay for it. And which is fine for me. Of course, I love Deep. I would be happy to do that. But for all of you guys out there who, may or may not want to actually like, pay for the pay-per-views, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. So we're going to talk that through on a different stream. We'll figure out what we want to do, but trust, I want to do Deep again so bad. And if there was ever a promotion I would want to subscribe to, Deep would be it.
Is there a Thailand fight pass? Is there a way to get all of the Thai arena broadcast in one centralized area? Is that a thing? Does anybody know of in the chat? So
Well, they broadcast on that work print TV, I believe is what it's called, either work print or work point TV. So the RWS is just a regular stream, but as far as like a centralized hub for it, RWS does broadcast onto Zone, but I don't know if there's like just a specific Muay Thai one. Of course, Deep is Japanese, so that's different dealie there. And
oh
Japanese,
yeah, true.
their pay-per-views, you can order their pay-per-views specifically without being a channel member on YouTube for them, but it's on a different service that's like, I think it's called like Twitch stream or something like that, like what you'd think is Twitter, but they're unrelated. Apparently, it's very weird. I think it might be a Japanese streaming platform, so that adds another little element to all of this that makes it a little more difficult. Like I said, we'll talk it through on when we're not doing the show here, but just be aware that if you don't see Deep for a little while, it's only because like I want to make sure that you guys are able to watch as well.
Hell yeah. And chat really seems to really like Deep. I know everybody gives good reviews of it. I was there in the chat, but I actually wasn't watching the event with you guys. So I still kind of feel like I'm missing out and you guys are making it worse every day. So
Yeah, I'm telling you, I am chomping at the bit to get another Deep stream in. I just want to make sure that everybody is able to watch along too. So we'll figure that part out. But that's for another day. Let's talk a little bit about the main attraction here, which is, of course, the UFC. This is UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh. This took place at Arena CDMX in Mexico City, Mexico. We already talked a little bit about it, but Chase, your initial impressions of this thing before we get into the individual fights.
initially, I was very excited for this. There's a lot of my fan favorite fighters on here, and not for good reason. Not to say that they were going to come in here and dominate, but I wanted to see them in the cage and do what they do best. And not going to lie, most of them did just that. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we will talk about. But there was another thing that somebody pointed out, and I think it's very, very clear. There was no fights in the crowd this year. Did they not serve alcohol? What was the deal? Like,
Well, perhaps it might have had something to do with the fact that this was the first UFC event in 3 years to not sell out. So maybe there were just sparser numbers of people there, and people who didn't like each other just weren't close enough to fight.
You know what's funny is like people are making a big deal about this event not selling out. Like, oh my god, like what's going on? It's like, guys, they just had some issues. Like
Right.
the people stayed home for good reason. It's like maybe let's not go celebrate because the CVS is burned down the road. Yeah, no, something like that. I don't know.
Of course, that's literally what I said. I was, I saw the tweet about that, and I was like, I wonder why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously there's reasons for that. But the other thing that I had as a note before we get into the actual individual fights, I don't know if you noticed this, Chase, but a lot of slips on this card. It seemed like the mat might have been a little slick or something because there were a lot of slipping and sliding going on.
I can't remember. I think I remember one or two specific ones. Hopefully, you'll enlighten me a lot about it, but I can't remember it being too big of an issue. I mean, there was just there was a lot of bullshit going on. I would say it that way. Let me say it that way.
Well, there's a lot of bullshit to talk about, so let's do just that. Let's start this thing
Let's shout
off.
out Sarah Toby first
Oh,
before
well,
we go.
you got to do that. Of course, the queen in the chat. Shout out to you, Sarah Toby. Good to see you.
And shout out Tyler too, because he's been sticking around since the very beginning. He's been my fucking day one. So let's
Hell
go.
yeah, dude. Shout out to Tyler Betts. Best
All
of
right.
luck on all of your bets, Tyler.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, starting this thing off was Damian Pinas versus Wes Schultz. Wes Party Time Schultz. It was not much of a party time for him in this fight, unfortunately.
Well, I'm finally glad that I was right because there was a point in time where I saw this guy on the Contender Series against Mansour Malik, I believe is who it was, and I did not think he's very wild. He throws a lot of craziness. Like he's so off balance when he throws everything that it's just hard for me to say that like, yeah, that's the guy that's going to get it done because he had such erratic movement. And then he came into this the second Contender Series fight, and I was shit talking him like, this is the worst fucking fighter I've ever seen in my life, guys. He's gonna lose. The Albanian has got him. And then you saw what happened, and he pulls off the one of one submission and Contender Series kind of deal. Going into this fight, very happy to say that Wes Schultz did exactly what I knew he was going to do. Look like a goofball, come out here and swing for the fences, doing like, bro, he throws kicks from like it's when you say kicks from all angles, normally you'd be like, man, that dude is sharp. That dude is good. No, he just fucking throws his legs from anywhere, like anywhere at all. He just throws his legs, and thankfully, Pinas is just technical enough that he just could get it done. The power that he has is obviously very, very, it's there. But Wes Schultz, he got dropped twice, and then the third one, it didn't even put him out. It was just like, don't get it. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
I've had
work
it.
it, bro. Yeah.
Right. Had enough. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, I said from the first takedown that Damien stuffed, I was like, it's over for Schultz. I mean, once you saw that this guy actually had a decent, takedown defense going for him, I was like, okay, this is, there's nothing for him here, unfortunately. And then as I was thinking that, that was when Schultz got dropped for the first time. So I was like, oh, okay, well, then shoot, now it's really over. But yeah, Damien really impressed me in this fight for that reason. Of course, as we had said coming into this thing, you don't know. Guy coming off the Contender Series, another dude who got a knockout on the Contender Series, I believe. So, you never know what the ground game is necessarily going to be like. Even if you saw a little bit of it on the Contender Series, you're not necessarily going to know the full extent of it. But Damien able to roll with the wrestling and powerful hands, of course. I mean, obviously that was the truth. All he needed. No Sulayev stretch this time for you, Mr. Schultz.
No, absolutely. Wes Schultz always kind of struck out to me, even after the win that he got on Contender Series. It kind of read to me that like this is Ryan Hall, like this is Crone Gracie kind of stuff here. Like this is nobody that is. He's not doing anything but going to excite people when he gets knocked out, kind of deal, and that's exactly what happened. And to shout out the chat one more time, Sarah. Yes, his last name is Pinas.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, I don't care who you are. That performance is going to have you saying, "I am a fan of Pinas."
Yeah, for sure.
So just get used to it. Get used to saying that because you're going to be you're going to be hearing a whole lot of Pinas talk around here and elsewhere for as long as this guy is fighting.
And one more time, we're gonna go ahead and shout out Aruba. There you go.
Absolutely. Well, and it's there was actually we say that, but here this is a nice little anecdote for that. There is a guy who came into the chat during this fight who had come into the watch along of the Contender Series when he was fighting on there, who is from Aruba. And he was saying that, it's like, this is really cool to be able to see somebody actually representing my country. And I'm like, that's what we talk about when we're talking about representation of underrepresented nations. Like, there are fight fans everywhere. They want to be able to also participate in the sport and have somebody to root for. And I think Damien here is a great representative of the country. So shout out to Aruba.
And Meat Rocket, his comment here, I don't know if it's true or not, but I also would like to shout it out because Damian Pinas does also represent Suriname. Like that's where he was born, I believe, and then by way of Aruba. So
Okay.
shout out to him. I
Fair
believe
enough.
that's what they said in the beginning. But
Yeah, him and Biggie Boy from there as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Good
But
deal. Yeah, this was a fine
this one was
performance, right?
quick. It
Yeah.
was quick. It was fun. It was absolutely what I needed to start off the night because I'm watching it and I'm like, the eye test tells me that this is not a good fighter. This is his fate when he gets to the level of UFC. And I'm not even talking about like get to a veteran, like facing up against a veteran or a decent other prospect. Like this is somebody fresh off the Contender Series. One fight, and you get starched by him. That's exactly what I was hoping for somebody with the skill level of Wes Schultz. And I hate to say it because like he seems like a cool dude. He seems fine. Like I have nothing against him, but like, thank you, please.
Yeah. Look, you can party with party time sometime that's not inside of a cage. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with the guy. I mean, he's got the cool long hair. He seems like like the exact guy that you'd want to have a beer with. But you're inside of a cage, and the objective is to beat the hell out of your opponent. So that's unfortunately how that goes sometimes.
I don't remember if it's this one, but I'm gonna believe it is this one. So at the end of this fight, Michael Bisping is walking over and he shakes Pinas's hand. Wes Schultz is still standing there and he tries to shake Bisping's hand, and
Oh.
Bisping's got the mic obviously and shaking, so he just walks off. It's like, yeah, it's kind of brutal.
Yeah, that'll happen, man. You gotta, you got like, I think that that's just a general note for all fighters is that if you lose the fight, like get out of the way of the camera. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just for your own sake and for the sake of everyone watching, because it's not gonna be a good look.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Shout out to Damian Pinos. Shout out to the people of Aruba. I'm sure what I said too is that it's going to be great when this guy main events because we're definitely going to be seeing somebody versus Pinos, and we're going to have to see how Twitch handles that because they're very
Absolutely.
they got some TOS elements with the name there, but we'll see. Either way, moving on to the
Yeah,
next fight.
if I
What's
couldn't
up?
even get a video off with Dan Hooker in the title, I mean, Damian Pinos is gonna screw me the shit out of here if he ever headlines.
Literally the one I was thinking of as well because I had the same problems.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
So
just put Dan Hangman.
yeah.
Hopefully it worked. I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah, or you have to put the space in there, some other dumb shit.
Yeah, Hangman, you can't even fucking do. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't get me started on Twitch. But anyway, moving on to the next fight here. How about that? Let's talk about Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Marshall adding a few more gray hairs to Mr. Silva's beard for this fight, man. Mr. Marshall was looking sharp.
This one, yeah. So what all you can say is that Eric Silva came out here and his plan was to just do a spinning kick and knock him out because that's all he had. That's all that the dude had. And Francis Marshall, to be fair, took the shot on the chin like a champ. He obviously took him a second to gather himself, but then right back to business. First round submission. I mean, what can you even say? Eric Silva is I just get him out of here, bro. Just come on.
Well, what we've been saying about the cuts that have been happening recently, there are a couple on here where it's like, okay, I mean, these are the ones that need it. We saw one might have actually just happened. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, like, dude, this is how it is. Kill or be killed. This is the top level of the sport. Like, I look, I feel for these guys, of course. I mean, like, I know it's your profession. I know you have families to feed and all of that, but like, like, there are other places to fight. This has to be reserved for the top of the top, and someone like Eric Silva in this fight that kind of does not scream top of the top based on this performance, and also the fact that not only with he got the kick and that was great, but then he tries to jump Gilly, and that's what ended up turning into the top control that Marshall had, which he worked his way into the rear naked choke from. So it's like, dude, you're making mistakes on top of not having a very big arsenal of attacks. Plus, you're a little bit older as well. All of these are like the red flags that lead you to being on the chopping block.
And that's my thing is like, sometimes on contender series you get a side of Dana where he's like brutally honest with people. He's like, you're way too old, and you're still not there, you gotta this is not the place for you kind of deal. Maybe he's never said it directly like that, but like taking a guy like Eric Silva at this age with a record like 9-2 or whatever he was when he got in there, just because he's from Venezuela, I guess, but like, brother, you could have known from a mile away, I guess. Like at any decent prospect, like Francis Marshall is very good. He's very underrated though. If you put him up against somebody who's just like, the rocket propelled knockout machine kind of guy, like dude, he would have starched Eric Silva in 2 seconds kind of deal. And not to say that Francis Marshall didn't do anything, less than that. He fucking subbed him in the first round. So and he's very good, but like he's just a wrestler, like for him to get the submission, I mean, he had some confidence going into the ground game against a guy like this. That's all I'm saying.
For sure. I feel bad for anybody who had Marshall and over 1.5 round or over half a round rather, because yeah, for a submission, 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Yikes.
Yikes. Yeah, that definitely is something. But we always talk about nicknames in this game. I would like to just point out that it's something simple. Francis Fire Marshall. It works, and then you can just really just be like, oh, did you see Fire Marshall the other night? Like it works. So
Yeah.
he could have the start. Like, unfortunately, he's a little too. He's got that like clean cut image, so it's kind of hard to just he's differentiating between like that and like the cop you see down the street kind of deal. But like Francis Marshall, Fire Marshall, I love it. Let's go
And
for it.
along those lines, the biggest missed opportunity for Marshall to not have Fireman by Lil Wayne as his walkout music. I mean, come on, dude. This is a no brainer to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely talk about some walkout music here in a few, but this one was not one that I remember. And we'll talk about ones that are very memorable and we'll add them to the list, of course.
Sure. Yeah. And, last thing I wanted to say about Marshall was I was just very glad that he got back in the win column after the robbery against Santos, Myron Santos.
Absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out to Mank MMA. Thank you for stopping by, bro. I know it's super late for you over on that rock that you live on, but mate, we're locked in. I can't wait to talk about all your favorite fights, specifically this next one, of course.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Mank. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one then. We'll talk about it. It's Regina Taryn versus Ernesta Karaskite. This was a women's catch weight. It was at 130 pounds because Taryn was in on very short notice. She was on days' notice.
So let me know now. I'll give some context. You think about what I'm gonna say. Let me know if we're gonna have an argument about this decision, because I do have some things to say. But the first that I will say is, did we get catfished?
That has been the yes. That's what I thought you were going to be leading with. We'll talk about the rest, but I have seen the memes going around. Yes, Regina Taryn was a little bit thicker in the midsection than she had been presenting in some of her other pictures. She was pretty slender in a lot of other ones. She was certainly more filled out in this fight. She was in on days' notice, people. I mean, like there's a reason it was a catch weight fight. I mean, like, I don't know. I didn't think that she looked terrible at the weight that she was at. Like, what? I don't
I
know.
I just thought it was funny that everybody was drooling over her, and then everybody saw, and then she walked out, and then there was kind of like a different opinion. Unfortunately, I was saving my opinions. When you walk in the cage, that's bare face. That's everything. Whatever you want to say. Ernesta Kadetskite, very attractive woman, and Miss Taryn is also. But like, it was just definitely funny to see the difference. Because like that looked like a different woman. I was kind of confused.
Yeah, had it been a date and that was the issue, like you're waiting at the table and then you're looking at your phone versus what you're seeing in real life. I can understand the disconnect there.
But no, all jokes aside, seriously, she is pretty cool. I actually do respect her a lot. Days notice, she's coming in. She listen, I want to give her major props. She came in on days notice. She was training for a different sport. She has been doing other types of sports. She did the WWE tryout or whatever you want to say. She'd done a lot of different things. So for her to jump into what she was training for was 3 minute, 3 round fight. She jumps into 3 round, 5 minute rounds, whatever you want to say. And she performed better than anybody thought she would. Not only did she perform better than anybody thought she would, she performed throughout the entire fight. She never slowed down. Well, she did slow down, but she never stopped showing, determination to win the fight. She showed a lot of different skills. She actually is a very entertaining fighter. That being said, I can't believe they got away with this, and we talk about it. We talk about it all the time. We talk about it all the time. And the only point that I want to make is if that you gave a 30-27, you clearly didn't watch the third round. And if you did give a 30-27, why wouldn't you lie about any other rounds, bro? If you lied about the third one, clearly, why wouldn't you lie about the first one that was close? Second, I'll give it to Taryn. That's fine. But like the first one was definitely close. And the third round, she definitely lost. And then in the second round, it was close. And then Ernesta got that dumb takedown. And like, sure, I don't want to like be like that guy, like, oh, she got the takedown. But like it was close before then. And then yes, she did mix in mixed martial arts and get a takedown. She was I just again, the only thing that stands out is like people will say, look, I watch a lot of fights. I watch a lot of fights. We do it every week. And it's just magically now I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. Like so the third round comes down to it. If you will blatantly say that she won 30-27 in Mexico on short notice, all this and stuff, that's fine. It was a great performance. It was very close. I just don't think she edged out. The fact that it wasn't even a split decision is one alarming because this was as razor close as it comes. Again, first round was close. Second round you could give to Taryn. Third round wasn't. It was close, but it was Ernesta who won. And the fact that we get a 30-27, if you would lie about the third round, why would you not lie about the first round? Why would you not be just snoring and watching just the phone on your, why are you not playing Angry Birds? You gave her 30-27 just because she's fucking, like, I don't know. The
Dude,
story's there.
I don't think I can follow you down this road for a single step, my guy. I do not know what fight you were watching here, bro. This was not razor close. Ernesta was looked terrible in this fight to me. Like Taryn, like, so what I'll say, let me back it up here. Taryn's striking is a little bit sloppy, but she was landing nicely and in good volume. So that was certainly doing better for her. There was a lot of clinching in this fight. it was Taryn who was really doing the better work in the clinch. She was like, as I had working nicely in the clinch. If Ernesto wasn't going to use her length to strike at that range, Regina was meeting her in the middle and meeting her with uppercuts at that point. This third round, the third round was the closest round because that was finally when Ernesta like got a little bit of a fire in her belly. But like those first 2 rounds, like I mean, it was pretty much a walk away as far as I could tell. Like I mean, this was just poor game planning for Ernesta. Clinches with no follow ups, so little ranged attacking, and no real volume to any noteworthy extent until maybe the third round with a little bit more effort, but not anything that could have swung really even that round. I understand the 30-27s on this, dude. I
The
mean, like, wait, go ahead.
the problem that I have too is that all of the damage that had been done were from headbutts from Terran. So like that skews the optics of the fight, sure, but like it Ernesta, it's not that she had a bad game plan. I'll tell you what it is. She unfortunately is these type of fighters that mixes in nothing. She doesn't mix in any type of skill. She just straight up boxes the bloody head off of him. And that she can do it for 3 rounds and she can arguably win fights just with her striking alone. I do see an impressive nature in that because that means you're a very good striker, very good kickboxer, even though you don't fucking kick. You have credentials as a kickboxer, but you throw fucking 6 leg kicks, whatever. She's that good that she can make it close just by striking. It's unfortunate that you can only just hope she would mix in stuff because she would win the fucking fights that way, but she doesn't. And then I unfortunately still, you know, 30-27, fine. It is what it is. I think it completes the story. You have the Mexican woman show up on short notice.
Sure.
It was already written 30-27 somehow, some way. The fact, I don't know. Chat is cooperating with me. I thought Ernesto was going to win. This
Well, I
was
thought. I mean,
close.
look,
Could have went either way. I'm
we
okay with
both
it.
picked her. Like it's like
I know.
I'm going off of strictly what I saw in the fight here, and also watching it twice as I always do. So I mean, really, like I thought that Regina just did the better work, and really, it's the volume, it's the output that was the issue because when they would clinch up, like Regina was doing the work in the clinch that Ernesto wasn't. That's what I'm trying to say here, because like if they had been at range, you would have seen a lot different of a fight. You saw it at range, and that was where Taryn started off and was doing some pretty decent work. Ernesto was not really meeting her at range, that's what I'm saying. Like what you're saying, she's not mixing anything in. If it was just going to be boxing, she needed to do like 1.5 to 2 times what she was doing. And I think that like also to your point, Regina did look gassed between rounds, but she remained consistent throughout the entirety of the fight. This was a great effort for her to push through. So I'm okay with the way that this all went down. I did not see it as close as you in the chat are seeing it, but that's what makes horse races.
Yeah, this one it definitely made an interesting story. And it was a fun fight. They did get fight of the night, and shout out to her because she's obviously one of the hotter prospects in the thing. Another thing that I also wanted to say, excuse me, is that she's like the second youngest woman in the UFC, or the second woman or second youngest person in the UFC in general, I think it is. Just adds to the fucking story as well. Like obviously they got to get her in there. I mean, she came in here, whatever.
Well,
But
see, but you say that, but then we were just last week talking about the Ninja Ferret who didn't even get in. She could have been that story, not for for Mexico, right? She's Mexican as well.
Argentinian.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, then there you go. But still, I mean, she could have been the next like it girl kind of thing if they had decided to do that. She won her fight on the Contender Series.
I could tell you why. I can give you the reason right here. You're not gonna love it. This girl's actually Mexican. To the Mexico card.
True.
If they had a choice between the Argentinian and the Mexican, I mean,
Well, no, I'm not even just saying about this card. I'm just saying in general. Like if they wanted to build a story on the age, then they could have done that with her through the Contender Series. Like they didn't. This has more of a story to it because of the Mexico aspect. But I'm just saying I don't think that necessarily is like the storyline is like what is deciding this thing here.
um, and maybe not. But the thing that I will say, is that it was a very good fight. I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, at circumstances, it was a catch weight. So Ernesta's in a situation where she's facing somebody at a different weight class than she normally would. So it was sort of favored against her. Obviously, the opponent is on short notice. There's different circumstances, different reasons why somebody could win or somebody can lose. Taryn had a really good performance, and she's actually very exciting, and I'm very excited to see her going forward, because she seems like a girl that really likes to fight, and hopefully she's active. That's what I'll say. Hopefully she's active.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that you brought up the catch weight aspect of this because that does put not an asterisk. Obviously, she won the fight. It was that they both were 130, I believe, or I think around there.
Yeah.
So it is what it is on as far as that goes. But it is a factor in everything. I mean, like Kara Skite had an opponent that she was training for. That's a different opponent now, different style, all of that kind of stuff. An opponent who is not in the UFC at that point. So different elements to that, not knowing exactly what you're getting out of her, or what you should be expecting. There are things that go into it that are a little extenuating there. So I'll give Ernesta that leeway on that. But yeah, the other side of it, I thought that Taryn looked pretty good, and we will see. I mean, 21 years old, she's got nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, we could definitely say that.
Cool. All right. Well, next up on the list here is Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. This is one time when having the walkouts cut on the rewatchings that I do, because they cut the fights up individually. This is one time that this worked in my favor because Reyes did a choreographed TikTok dance with 3 of his teammates. And frankly, I didn't need to see that again.
It's crazy how we're in the era that for you guys to understand what we're talking about, Thinker has to throw out the term TikTok dance. If you guys actually grew up and any era other than this would be just the YMCA dance. Like you could just call it that and everybody knows what you're talking about. But now it's just like, no, he did an emote. And it's like, well, no, he actually came out and he did the YMCA dance. Him and his coach, they did the whole thing. Like they basically popped out the Macarena for you guys. I mean, the whole song, bang, when you're listening to somebody, when you're listening to like the second verse of a song that you're like, oh, there's more. It's like, damn, he's doing that many. Anyway, the funny thing about this is when you watch the pre-show, right? Because again, I rant and rave about this. The Paramount lets you watch the pre-show right before the event. Right before the event started, they showed Andrade and Reyes walking into the arena like if it was some fucking main event. Like, they have the glasses on and they walk in like with their suits and shit. They showed these two clowns like I'm supposed to be like, okay. Anyway, and then so it comes out and he does the fucking YMCA dance. I'm like, Jesus, they have just made a mockery of this whole dude's fucking career already. And then he gets dropped on his butt by a 40-year-old fucking man. So this was almost, and because I was talking a lot about this guy, I said, Javier Reyes, this guy is somebody to look out for. He's a marauder, which I still stand by this. He is a Chad. He is the Colombian Mictebek, which, if you guys didn't know, and we didn't know this until they said so, he actually trains at a higher elevation than Mexico, than where they were at in Mexico. So Colombia, hey, they got elevation. If you guys didn't know, he knows. So if for anybody out there saying that he was going to struggle going into Mexico, no, brother. The Mexico struggles when he walks in. So you need to just be prepared that if you think any fucking miniature Brazilian guy with the strength of 1,000 fucking, boulders is going to take out our Colombian king, no, you're wrong, because he's going to get back up. And what is kind of funny is Javier Reyes came into this fight with a lot of confidence, and that's what got him dropped because he has his hands low and he just walks in and took a big old bomb. But when he got hit, he lost a lot of that confidence, and I was like, okay, now he's like locked in. He's like really locked in, and he looked really sharp after that. Like when he was like not when he was not in his own head kind of deal, he was like really laser focused on fixing his mistake kind of deal. Like now I gotta win. He looked really fucking sharp on the feet. He's kind of slow, but like it's more of him. The technique and the timing is what really gets him off. Like it's not really the speed and the power. Yes, he has the power, but it's a lot of technique. I think this dude has a lot of skills, and of course, he worked towards this finish. It wasn't that he was able to just get him. He dropped him back kind of deal, but it wasn't like just him flatlining him. No, he got him down, worked for the position. Went for a sub after Andrade tried to do the finger wave, almost got subbed, brother, and then flipped himself right into full mount almost, and then spread him out and just elbowed him into the finish, and then we got to finish with 1 second left on the clock. If this doesn't scream to you marauder status by Javier Reyes, this performance right here, I don't know what will, because this is almost Rebechki versus fucking Mictebek at like 1-1.
I mean, that is a whole heap of glaze for this guy that I don't know if I necessarily want to give the same amount of, but because really, I mean, you obviously talking a lot about Reyes. What I took away from this fight, I'm not trying to dog Reyes. I think he did great in this fight. He certainly was good. I think that really the bigger takeaway to me was that Silva de Andrade made some terrible mistakes in this fight. Like he like there were some times here where I was like, dude, I don't know where your thought process is here. There's like a fight IQ issue as at 40 years old. That's a big problem. So Silva de Andrade catches Reyes early. That's when he got dropped, of course, dropped into a knee. Then he kind of does this on again, off again pressure pattern for a little bit instead of just going in for the finish. Where I was like, dude, now granted, I don't know if he would have actually gotten the finish if he had been like, more forceful, but he literally took his foot off the gas, then re-engaged. He kind of was like doing this measured back and forth. And I'm like, this is not what you should be doing when you just dropped your opponent, my man. At least go in and try to get the finish there and then see what happens thereafter, as opposed to what he did do. So that allowed Reyes to recover. He ends up dropping Silva, gets his back, rains down the shots. Then he ends up having to do, the little bit of grappling that they did to drag him down. Silva rolls, they rolls a little bit, but ends up on his stomach. And then he starts taking the unanswered shots to the side of the head. Herb is looking at it. He's looking back at Herb. And you said about the finger wag on the submission. He was finger wagging at Herb while he was getting shots to the side of the head too. And Herb ended up stopping it because I'm like, dude, why are you wagging your finger instead of fighting back, instead of intelligently defending? You don't wag your finger at the referee. You do something to make it known that you are still in the fight. I was like, this is a fight IQ issue all over the place here. So when people were saying, oh, because what I would say is that, like, I'm always of the mindset, if it's a situation like that where there's multiple, just a couple of seconds left on the clock, generally I would say let the guy make it to the horn and give him the next round to try to see if he can come back or whatever, depending on the situation. This was perfectly fine as far as the stoppage went to me, because he was not doing anything to make it known that he was still in the fight, aside from sitting there emoting again at the referee.
Well, it's not even. This is nothing about Andrade, in my opinion. Like when it comes down to the stoppage, a lot of people are talking about, oh, Herb should have let it go to the second. He should have let it go. Guys, Herb is not supposed to look at the clock. He should never be
True.
looking at the clock. He should always be looking at the fighters. And when he deems that it has been enough, he even was trying. Like come on, like he wanted to stop it earlier and he hesitated, like, oh, I know people are gonna fucking give me shit if I step in now, if I give him now, come on, let me know, give me something, let's go. And then he steps in, and then it happened to be 1 second left. I mean, it's unfortunate that it happens this way, but like, as a fighter, everybody, you hear the clapper, kind of deal. And as a fighter, there's 10 seconds left. So Reyes really did a good job of unloading until the horn. And that's exactly the product of him having good discipline in that situation. A lot of people do fucking nothing, do fuck all. They hear the clapper and then he goes for a fucking choke. It's like, what do you fucking do? Like, this was great. Great performance from
Yeah.
Reyes.
And I want to make it clear. No, you are absolutely correct that the referee should not take the time into consideration. But what I would say to that is that there are times where it's at the referee's discretion as to when they've seen enough. And you can, I mean, like Chris Mutino versus Sean O'Malley is a perfect example of this. Like, Chris Mutino is taking endless damage in that fight. And then it finally gets stopped with a handful of seconds left on the clock in the
I
third.
think it was like 30, but yes.
Oh, you know what I mean? Like close enough where it's like, if when was the time where it was like between
Yeah.
all of the damage that you just decided? You know what I'm saying? So, and like my thought, like I'm not saying that Herb should have done it. I'm saying that I would like to see it go to, I would like to see the guy get that opportunity if he's doing anything. But this guy was not doing anything. So that's what I was saying.
I think that also comes down to, I mean, and I want to give the credit once again to Reyes. We've seen a lot of ground and pound that, the ref would look at and they'd be like, yeah, he's good. He's fine. This is not life altering situation. I can give him another 5 seconds of getting hit with these shots kind of deal. But Reyes, was doing a good job of, smashing this dude's head into the canvas. I thought this was a very good, and he obviously was not getting out of it. So it was just a very dominant position that Reyes really worked for. There was in the first round when he got dropped and he shot for a takedown, I believe it was, or no, when he dropped Andrade and then he gets his back kind of deal. He's working towards, like, when he got one hook in, and then on the other side he's like really trying to dig his right leg into his, like, to try to get the hook in. And I was like thinking to myself, like, he was really like, a lot of people, they'll try for it once. If they don't get it, it's like, all right, well, we're just not getting the hook in. But he was like relentlessly trying to get this dude's back. He had to make sure I get both hooks in, because if not, I'm not getting him. And shout out to him for, again, being very disciplined, being very very hungry, man. This dude is very good. I'm telling you guys, and he might get dropped again. Hell, he might even get caught and flatlined. But if he doesn't, I would like to believe that he's going to continue trying to fight for a finish. This dude's good.
I mean, you're obviously a big fan, so I'm hoping for good things for him. I don't know if I necessarily saw the exact level out of him that you're describing, but I'm certainly okay with with seeing more of him and more performances that will show that to me. So we'll keep going with him.
I think it all comes down to when you got to watch, right after he gets dropped, and then obviously up until then, up until the finish, because he came out, and this is sometimes happen with a lot of the South American territories. They come in with beef against each other, and this one they kind of, Reyes came in and no glove touch, no
Yeah, no
fucking
touch.
glove
Yeah.
touch. And so, it's not that they, hate each other, but it's like they all have like their own little rivalry going on. So he came out with a lot of confidence and he had nothing to worry about with Andrade. And then Andrade, savvy little vet move, he sticks him with a very clean overhand shot and it rocks Reyes. He obviously didn't give as much credit to him. And then he locks in. And I'm telling you, once you see him lock in, he's a lot he's like tight. And it's not a great thing that he's tight, but everything looked good after that. Like he was really dialed into like making sure that he is not getting caught again. And he kind of did. He did take some shots, but like once he was dialed in, I swear everything was good to go. He just
Yeah.
needed to be woken up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also probably say similar things about a fighter coming up a little bit later on this card too. So, I can see the similarities based on what you're saying here. Last note that I had about this was in the post-fight. Bisbing says, quote, "You've been around for a very long time. This was your UFC debut." that just, those two together made me laugh. But it is true. I mean, Javier Reyes comes in with a 22-5 record before this fight, now 23-5. So obviously very experienced, and we will see what he can continue to do. So I'm here for it. I like the guy.
Once again, I'll give you guys the tidbit. This is my favorite contender series version that we get is the South American guy who has plenty of experience that for no reason has just not gone to the fucking UFC yet, And then he
Yeah,
comes in and just mops people. Like, love it.
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, very nice performance for Reyes. Before we move on, I do want to give a very special shout out to my dude, Nate Bolin. Nate, the pictures that you're talking about, if they won't let you upload them, just DM them to me.
Oh wait, no. So if you upload them as PNOS pics, they should work.
True. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. I mean, that guy was just on the card. They can't deny that, right?
Yeah, you have to. The file should be .pnos.
Indeed. All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight here. This is, of course, Christian Quinones versus the aforementioned Chris Mutino. Look, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of discussion about Chris Mutino and whether or not he deserves to be in the UFC. Before we even get into any of that part of it, I want to give a shout out to Christian Quinones because I thought this guy looked really good in this fight. I thought that his movement was really nice, and I thought that his ground game was actually surprisingly good. Like I didn't, maybe I didn't remember him from before enough to know like how his ground game was going to be, but I thought that when he was navigating on the ground, he had a couple of moves that were really impressive, very sharp there. And I mean, I say all of that with the understanding that that's exactly how you should look against Chris Mutino.
Oh, dude, I you're like serious right now, right?
What are you kidding me? What enlighten me here.
Chat, please back
Enlighten
me
me.
up
What are you
here.
talking about? I thought he looked good.
Christian Quinones.
Yeah.
This dude landed 54 strikes against Chris Mutino. This was one of the worst performances I think I've seen from
It's
a
not
prospect.
it's not about the volume. It was about the movement. He was sticking and moving. The guy was active on his feet, and he was on the ground. There was 7 minutes of control time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the grappling was awful. I mean, yeah, he controlled him for 7 minutes. It's Chris Matino. If you have Chris Matino on the ground and you're a grappler for 7 minutes and you can't not once make it look like you're gonna finish this dude, and then on the feet you have this slick karate stance where it makes it look like you're some killer, and you land 54 strikes against a dude who does not block his face. I dude, no, I'm serious. Like this chat, wow.
I man,
I
do
hope
you,
you guys have been watching the same thing. I mean, no, I really don't know because when I left this fight, I genuinely thought like there's no way that Christian Quinones is gonna make it anywhere in this division. A striker is gonna is gonna beat him to hell on the feet, and if he thinks his grappling is gonna be like superior to other people, like again, it goes back like he's in bantamweight, so obviously not the greatest division as of right now. But if you pair him up, against the people at the top of the division, it's like this works against nobody. This is if you can't get Chris Mutino, like Chris Mutino at the end of this fight didn't look like he got beat the hell up. Didn't look like he looked like he was like disappointed that I couldn't do anything because and it was like fine, great, a very nullifying performance, but it's because nobody was doing anything. This shit was oh my it listen, 7 minutes of control time is fine by me, but I I'm I'm not seeing this one. And I remember you a while ago, you talked about Christian Quinones, and I still don't see what anybody else like. And I'm not the only one. I was on Twitter, and I obviously have a different feed than people who are fans of Christian Quinones, but I wasn't the only one who didn't see it with this guy. And I don't know if it's listen, I don't know. This is just not it for me.
I mean, look, I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and become a champion necessarily, but I thought that he navigated this fight pretty well. I mean, like he had a really nice, well-timed double leg to negate the pressure of Mutino in the second round. Like when Mutino finally like realized that he needed to fight too. Like there were just elements of it that I thought were pretty good here. I mean, I don't know. I think you're being a little harsh right now.
Navigating a fight well against fucking Chris Matino though, like, and you're in the way that you navigate it is just getting him down and doing shit with your grappling. Like Chris Matino, again, you should batter this dude on the feet, like, and he could have, and he had all the opportunities to. He landed a lot of jabs, like, so whatever. But again, if you hold him down or have control time for 7 minutes, I'm not trying to make it seem like Chris Matino is the worst guy ever because I even took him. But like
How
again,
much of this is cope right now? Is that
no, no, no.
okay?
Because
I know. I'm just
we
kidding.
we don't get to, and I've talked about this before. We don't get to see the odds anymore on ESPN. So when we pick these guys, we can't see that Christian Quinones is like a -500. I couldn't tell you why. Obviously, 30-27 speaks for itself. But from my opinion, if I saw him as a -500, I'd be like, something's fucking wrong here. But I'm glad we don't see it anymore. But the point is, I took Chris Matino knowing full well that it was very slim odds that he was going to ever do anything. But I really think if Christian Quinones was a very good prospect, this performance would have been something to talk about because I think you're reaching for a lot to talk about here, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like the karate stance that he has. I think that is one of the highlights of his game is that he actually looks really good when he stands there idle. He looks like a fighter. Thank you. That's about it. I would give him that.
I mean, I thought that when Mutino tried to go for the heel hook in the third round, I thought that was another time that Quinones looked pretty good on the ground, able to get out of that, even though it was nowhere near anything that was going to work for Mutino. And Mutino did say between rounds that he felt flat, and I was like, bro, you've been flat for your entire UFC career. But so I understand what you're saying here. I do. I like that this should have been, you should have been going in there and being a world ender. But for a guy who is not necessarily a world ender, this was a fine performance, a 30-27 performance, as you said. I think that this was good for him. I thought he looked good on the ground. I don't know. I think that like I don't see where this is such a bad thing, even if he was not able to finish Chris Mutino, who I should also add was on a win streak outside of the UFC. So if this is like if we're talking about levels here, then this is a guy who if this was a fight outside of the UFC, he would have been good. This would have been all right. This is a guy who's okay.
You know, it would be one thing if you'd be like, I give him props for the ground game. And late in the third, Chris Mutino had his back and he had like that fully locked in choke. Maybe if it was like a decent grappler and it wasn't Chris Mutino, but you're gonna sit here and be proud that he didn't get heel hooked by Chris Mutino. Yes, he should get out of that. Yes, he's a grappler. Yes, I'm not proud of that. I'm not super happy that that dude did that. He should fucking do that in his sleep. Like I
I hear what you're saying. I like it, yeah, he looked good doing all of this stuff though. Again, I think you're discounting the movement of the guy. I thought that he moved really well in this fight.
I don't want him to move well. I want him to punch well and grapple amazing. Like I
Oh
don't
my
know. Like
god. All
like
right, fair enough. Well, like I said, I don't think that he's necessarily going to be like a ranked fighter at any point in the future necessarily. We'll have to see him against an actual dude who's going to give him a real fight as opposed to Chris Mutino. But either way, you can, say what you want to say about Quinones. Mutino, on the other hand, though, we just have been talking plenty about guys who are not supposed to be in the UFC anymore. Sad to say, it's a second stint after being, the toughest punching bag on the planet. I think that he has a lot to be proud of in the sense that, he has gotten as far as he's gotten, being the level of skill that he is. But I think that all good things must come to an end when it comes to Mr. Mutino.
I think the last thing that I would say is that there is a very good reason that they gave him Chris Mutino as an opponent. Um,
Supposed to
I,
make him look great, and he didn't look great. I get it.
well, it's the hometown card. They really gotta pull from a deep bag when it comes to opponents who are not good to make the Mexican, crowd, happy for these guys. Because Chris Quinones, I mean, if you were to give him somebody who actually has something that they were elite at in their game, I mean, it's maybe a coin flip. Maybe he's even the fucking underdog at that point. So it's just unfortunate. I would love to see him against a different fighter, a different opponent, somebody that I believe in that. And then I want him to style on them. Like, I want to believe in it. I want him to prove me wrong. I want to find out that this was just an off night. The elevation got to him. He hasn't been home in 2 years. I don't know. I
All right.
want a reason.
I'm not saying that you're wrong about all of those elements, or that Hydra here is necessarily wrong either. But I think he's a little bit harsh saying that people call O'Malley a fraud for taking that long to end Mutino. This guy should be dropped from the UFC for going to decision with him. Y'all are a pack of haters right now. Okay.
It wasn't the worst, but I just feel when it comes to people that I haven't seen, like Christian Quinones, I have not seen this dude very often. Maybe once or twice. But if I don't see you that often, that is your opportunity to make a big impression. You're supposed to make me remember you. You're supposed to make me, I'm only going to remember how hard it is for me to say your last name, dude. So if you can't make me remember a great performance for me having to do that with your last name, I'm just going to have to do it, and it's going to suck because I'm going to have to talk about bad things. And, I don't want to do that. I want to see great performances.
Well, all right. Perfect segue into the next fight then. This amazing performance here. Let's talk about it. It's Eileen Perez versus Macy Chiasson. This fight was boring as shit. So what I say about this is that, I mean, two things. One, the story of the fight was really the referee who really wanted to be a part of the action. The stand up in the second round was absolutely wild. And two is that Perez is very lucky that she has a big round ass that she likes to shake, because she is boring as fuck as a fighter. I am sick of Eileen Perez. I do not like her style. I don't think that she is an impressive fighter in any stretch. The fact that she's on a win streak bothers me. I think that there needs to be matchmaking that is going to stop being favorable to her. Not that Macy Chiasson should have been favorable to her. That's on Macy Chiasson at that point. But still, I feel like she has been given some favorable matchups. I want this to end. She needs to have an opponent that is going to take a fight to her in a way that is going to negate all the pressure that she does, because all she does is smother, take down, grind, and repeat. It is fucking mind numbing watching Eileen Perez fight.
I feel like I told you this last week. Eileen Perez is not somebody that we should be expecting much progress from. We know what she's about. She's the OnlyFans chick. She's very happy with the money that she makes on OnlyFans. Why should we expect her to come out here and shut the lights out, have the most exciting performance, show the most skill off, and do this and that? No, I mean, I did not think, and I was right to think that Macy Chiasson was not going to be the one to beat her. Thankfully, Macy was actually somebody who pointed out that you can actually get her down and hold her down for a whole round, and she won't be able to do anything. Thankfully, Eileen was able to, take the next 2 rounds, because the first round she definitely did not win. And
Sure.
I'm actually we might have to look at the scorecards sometime, but they might have even gave Eileen that first round. I don't know. But either way, something stupid happened. Either way, Eileen Perez is somebody that is just not really getting as better as she needs to be. She's a younger prospect. She's on a win streak, and she's not elevating her game. We're not seeing something new every time. We're seeing the same thing, like you said, rinse and repeat, and it's working. And it's working against people that are handpicked for her. Yes, we've seen this before. We've seen it time and time again. But the thing that I want to talk about, and this is the hottest topic of the night, and I think this is going to get the chat stirring, is Macy kind of looked good this night, guys. Are we listen, not good in the performance. I mean, listen, I don't know what it
Oh,
was. I don't know what
really?
it was for. She was looking really tall too. Is she like 6 foot or something, dude? Eileen might be a hobbit. Like, bro, she was ginormous, and Macy had a very good first round. That being said, everything else did not look very good, and she got sat on by Eileen. And then, yeah, the ref definitely tried to make Eileen lose this fight. They kept trying to stand this shit up when she was laying on top of her, which is fine. But like, yo, we just had Macy do this shit the whole fucking round. Like, you didn't do shit about it anyway. So
Uh,
this was fun. It was fun to see Eileen shake her ass at the end. It was fun to see somebody in the comments say, "I saw her OnlyFans. It was not very clean," and I was like, "That's an interesting way to say this," but
hmm.
it stuck out as something that I should bring up to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. I guess I would have to need more context to know exactly how to interpret that statement. But
Right, I know.
yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say that the comment about Chiason uh, chases down bad people. We need to get our bro some help over here, guys. But either way, look, hey, to each his own. But no, I mean, I thought that Macy did good in the first round. If you're saying that you thought that the people gave Eileen the first round, that's wild. If that's the case,
I think I think somebody might have posted the scorecard and it might have been that, but maybe it was a different fight. But
yeah, that's
carry
crazy.
on.
If that, yeah, fair enough. That's a crazy thing if it is that. But yeah, I mean, look, it was basically one round to show that exactly as you said that Macy had the right idea early on. She basically met fire with fire. Saying, okay, well, if this is the game plan, I'm just going to do the same against you. It worked for the first round, but the game plan worked in Eileen's favor for the second and the third. What I say about Eileen Perez is, as a positive, is that like she does use her body weight effectively. She's got a low center of gravity for obvious reasons. She uses her legs and her lower body effectively to to drag her opponents. She's sticky. She likes to get her opponents down. She shifts them a lot. So it's like she plays to her strengths in that way. So I'll give her that at least. I mean, I think that for Chieson, like she had said, they were talking about it on the commentary that she had said coming into this fight that she wanted to do opposite stance and throw at range. And I was like, that if that was the game plan, like where was that at any time in any of this? Because this was really the two of them just on each other the entire fight. Now, granted, Eileen probably made it that way, but like each round starts on the feet. Like you could have come out of the gate aggressive. I mean, this is what I always talk about with fast starters. Like you had the opportunity every single round to be first, especially for the fact that if going into the third, if it was 1-1, that was really your time to shine. You should have been of the mindset that like, look, I cannot let her get back to the game plan that has been working for her. But that was not in the cards for Chieson. So it is what it is on that. Round 3, Smotherfest for Eileen. I said someone must have sent this lady to Dagestan at some point.
This fight was not what, anybody wanted it to be. Eileen did what she was supposed to do, win the fight, shake ass after, and that's fine. Now, what she was not supposed to do, and this is just going along with the golden path that she's trying to create for herself to get to the belt. She goes out and calls Tracy Cortez out, who is a whole weight class below her. Now, the interesting thing about this is if you had not noticed in more recent time, Tracy Cortez has gone through sort of a transformation to get more fit for her weight class. Eileen, you are not making that weight class. I can tell you that right now. You girl, the thighs are not shrinking that much is all that I would like to say. You're going to stay at bantamweight. You're not going to get a Tracy Cortez fight. It was maybe a good idea to get like the gooners going crazy to make, the fan theories going wild about this matchup kind of deal, but it makes zero sense. Zero fucking sense. Like,
Yeah.
who are you? Are you MVP? Are you Kevin Holland and or like Jared Cannonier? No, you're not just like shifting weight classes because you want. Like, you're in bantamweight, girl. Like, you're on a win streak. Go get your title shot whenever you're ready. If you want to go fuck around with a different weight class, girl, like, where are your aspirations? Once again, it goes back to the we know exactly what she is. She's the only fans girl who's not really taking her shit as serious as she makes it seem. We can want to believe it as much as we want because she's winning, but we know the moment that it doesn't work, you're gonna have so many clips. You're gonna be like, look at her fucking OnlyFans. The day of her fight, she's over here posting photos on OnlyFans. Like shit like that. So I don't know.
No, I agree completely. I mean, she's a bit of a pudge for bantamweight. You know what I mean? It's not like she's like in super fit shape and just happens to have a lot of weight in the lower body. Like she's got a little flab on her, and again for reasons that we know. I mean, like she intentionally has a little bit of extra body weight so that it goes to the hips and the ass. I mean, this is not a rocket science
This
situation
is
here.
Women 101, guys, and we're having a podcast. It is literally to tell you the scientific reasonings of why women are in the weight classes they are.
Indeed, and this goes right into that. So keeping it scientific, yes, there's no way in hell she's making a lower weight than where she is at now. I mean, she's got to hope that they get another weight class above if she's going to move anywhere. And Tracy Cortez probably is not moving up, as you said. She's kind of tightened herself up a little bit more too. So yeah, I mean, I really do actually agree 100%. This really was like almost to the level of being like a meme call out for the hot girl versus the hot girl kind of thing, but never going to happen. And just something to get the Twitter guys all riled up, get those Twitter fingers moving.
Dana White, I want Mayweather. Woo!
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I guess shout out to Eileen Press. She's on a 6-fight win streak now or something like that. I think they
It's
said
5, maybe.
5, 6, whatever it is, the multi-fight win streak. So she's up in like the largest win streaks in the division right now, because that's what they showed the graphic. So I'm like, somebody is going to be able to figure this out, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but you know what the craziest part is she has a win over Jocelyn Edwards. And Jocelyn Edwards has 1 fight less of a win streak than her right now, I'm pretty sure. And all of hers are finishes. So I should just tell you the level of activity that you can have, and then you can surpass the people that have beaten you. Like how quickly it could come if you really just like get on your horse.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And also that, the loss that you're talking about for Edwards was before she seems to have come into her own. So that's also a good point to the evolution of fighters. You can get better. You can improve. Like Jocelyn Edwards has made a believer out of me.
See, but Jeremy, this is my problem. Is like the catch weight has to have a reasoning. We don't just do a catch weight because the 2 hot women want to fight each other.
Right.
This is the UFC. It's not misfits boxing. You make bantamweight or you make feather or flyweight, whatever it is, because these are the weight classes that are slotted in our sport. If you want to do a catch weight, it's because one of you missed fucking weight, or it's on short notice, or you're gonna lose your purse, whatever the case may be, or you're sick and you're injured. That means that there's going to be some stipulation to this, some asterisks to go along with it. But unfortunately, I don't see this happening. I don't see it.
No, I agree. I don't think that there's really any reason to give it too much thought, honestly, aside from her saying it,
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight here. One that we don't have a whole hell of a lot to say, I would think. This is Ryan Gondra versus Jose Daniel Medina. Good Lord. We just found out, and before I go too far, we just found out, at least in rumor form, we don't have firm confirmation just yet, but the word on the street is that Medina has been cut after this devastating knockout that he succumbed to in this fight. And I say, good fucking riddance, Chase. I know that you have had a soft spot for this guy for a while, and it's very admirable to support the Bolivian. I underrepresented country and all of that. I would like to have seen better out of his career for him. He is a veterinarian in his own country, which I certainly respect. I love animals, so obviously I want to support the guy in his fighting endeavors. But this guy has not been it for the entirety of his time in the UFC, and this is the nail in the goddamn coffin right here. This man could not even last half a goddamn round. Cost me a parlay. Get out of here.
I think the most interesting thing is, like, yes, Jose Medina lived up to nothing. He lived up to no skill that you could ever like put to his name. And at the end of the day, all you could hang your hat on was like, this dude, he'll take a punch and he'll get up, man. The only way that he went down is to a dude with godlike power. And then unfortunately, you can't even hang that on him anymore. It's like now he just gets punched by anybody and everybody and then just falls to the ground. And it's unfortunate because he did get chinned, he did go unconscious. But I will once again, I would say that like he could have fought a little longer. We didn't even get no ground and pound, like
Brother, I knew you were going to say this too. Okay, so let me read the notes as I have them. Okay, swarm of shots from the start of the fight for Gondra. Medina goes out and is wrestling the ref's leg when he comes to. He is protesting this fight. I said, protest these nuts. This was a good stoppage.
Another funny thing about this one, and this is how like even the commentators are in on it. So when the fight started, Michael Bisping goes, Jose Medina, man, this guy's a fighter. He's got so many kids at home, and he's fighting for all the. He'll come in this cage every time, and it's like they have nothing. They can't even pull anything out for this guy. They can't even name the place in Bolivia he's from. It's just
Right.
like he's got kids and a wife back home. So very funny performance because once again he comes in, does absolutely nothing. Looks good for the first second. He puts his guard up and then still gets hit. and then falls to the fucking ground. Unfortunately, I feel bad because when you see him at the end, no,
I know
no, it's like, oh
it
god.
hurts, I get that. And like, again, it's like, I never want to make it a personal thing with any of these guys. Like I said, he's a veterinarian. He must be a good guy. He's got a big heart, I
Yeah.
like it. So I don't, it's nothing about him personally, but golly, this is just, it's too much with this guy at this point. The other note that I did have, and really, I think that something, just to bring it back down to reality a little bit, Ryan Gondra. This is a guy who came in on the Contender Series, who got a very quick knockout on the Contender Series. So really, we still don't know too much about this guy. You know what I mean? Like, this is another one that it's like, it's great that he was able to replicate that in the UFC, but what information do we really glean from this, aside from he will go in there, he'll be first? What I always say, I want you to start strong, start quickly. He definitely did that. Aside from that, there's a lot of information that we do not have.
The problem with Gondra, and I said this even before the fight started, and this was the reason I didn't pick him, to be honest, is like a Brazilian that's a striker with power is a dime a dozen now, you know? Like we see these guys every fucking week, you know? Why would I believe this guy's special? He's just done what every other guy has done on the Contender Series in their first fight for the past fucking 2 years now, you know? So if Ryan Gondra really wants to make me a believer, I mean, I don't know. I just saw Marco Tulio get fucking destroyed by Christian Leroy Duncan, his first step up to competition. So I'm gonna really, and that was a dude that looked fucking advanced on his
Right.
fucking feet. And this is the same weight class. I mean, and these are two dudes. Granted, we know that Jose Medina for fact was a light heavyweight and then had to come down to middleweight when he got to the UFC. Ryan Gondra is another dude who looks very massive for middleweight. He's a very light heavyweight kind of plodding forward kind of striker. It's hard for me to just put stock in a guy that all I know is he knows how to throw a combination and knock people out. What else can he do? I'm gonna have to find that out.
Yeah, no, you're making the exact point that I was getting at too. So yeah, I mean, that really is the takeaway from this, is that more information needed when we see him again. But in this fight, you saw you at least saw the power, you at least saw the ability there for sure. And that's really, I guess, what you can take away for right now.
The two things that I want to say with the chat, because Meat
Yes.
Rocket is absolutely right. He first says, "I love Medina. He'll go on to be PFL champion." I said the exact same thing. I said, give him 16 months, and he's gonna go face Leon Edwards' brother for the fucking belt, probably. The second thing that I want to shout out is Hydra. I've never seen someone so upset that he doesn't have to get his ass beat anymore. Dude, because he has so many kids, man. He's fighting for all of them. You know,
For sure.
Jesus.
No, absolutely. And also, to the point that Meat Rocket was making, that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I want these guys to succeed. Okay. That's like all where a lot of this comes from. It's like, if you are not of the caliber of the UFC, there are plenty of other places that you can go fight. I would love for Jose Medina to go and be a champion in the PFL. That would be awesome. That would be a great, a roundabout way to come back into prominence for him after not having such a good run in the organization. So that would be a perfectly fine thing if that happens. And as far as what Hydra said, it's like, yeah, I mean, he's down on himself now, but going to somewhere like the PFL, maybe he raises his spirits a little bit over there. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, we'll see though. I tell you this, if the PFL, if anybody out there who works for them is ever listening to this podcast, this moment right now, if you sign this dude, I would literally watch every card that he's on. So there you
All right.
go.
All right. Yeah, he got lifelong fans out of his time in the UFC. Perhaps that is worth its weight in gold by itself.
Absolutely. I don't think I have the Bolivian flag yet, but I'm absolutely going to have to go ahead and get that.
Absolutely. And shout out to Bolivia. We're going to get more people from Bolivia coming in who are going to do better in the organization in the future.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, that rounds out the prelims. So let's start on the main card here. This is Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco, another guy that I know at one time, Chase, you were pretty high on, this Angel Pacheco over here. But Santiago Luna coming out the gate strong with some good striking, I would say.
This is absolutely what I expected from Angel Pacheco. I have never seen anything different out of a performance from him. He is absolutely just, a punching bag at the end of the day, but he is one tough punching bag. The reason that he's so fun is because he's not somebody that is just an easy pushover. For you to look like a superstar against him, I mean, you're going to have to listen. Santiago Luna, you could tell how tired he was throughout this fight. And it's not because he was, doing a lot of different, positions. He wasn't scrambling. He wasn't getting up from his feet. No, people get so fucking tired for how big of an ass whooping they put on this dude. And like that's understandably a skill at the end of the day, because if Angel Pacheco had some sort of finishing ability towards the end of the fight, I mean, this would be a very valuable intangible that he has. But unfortunately, it just leads Santiago Luna. Jesus, I can't do names today. Luna just absolutely had a masterclass of a performance and then started to gas out, which had a lot of people worried. And it definitely showed a hole in his game. But as a young fighter who's absolutely way too young to be in this game so far, he needs to, have an evolution. We obviously see that he can get better. When he rewatches tape, if there's nothing for him to seek it to get better, then he will never. So he obviously has a reason to get better. I mean, this is a guy who takes every shot in the book. What could we have done to do something better? Like, how could we have finished this fight? And obviously this is, an impossible task, but in a way that's a good thing to learn from, is like, what was the best thing that we could have done, even if it wasn't going to work? What are all of our options available going for a fighter that is unfinishable, for that aspect? Could we have taken him down? Great defense, or great offensive wrestling from each other, but at the end of the day, I think Luna just has to just study this. This is a good performance, and I think that's what Angel Pacheco can offer a lot of prospects, and that's what he did with Danny Silva. 3 rounds of an ass whooping. You learn a lot about yourself and your opponent, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. Honestly, I think that a lot of that tracks. I thought that Luna had a lot of good aspects in this fight that were on display here, and like you said, young guy, very young guy. There's a lot of room to continue to grow. This is a good starting point. This is a really like solid base. So if you're growing from this, then there's the ceiling might be rather high. I mean, there were a couple of things that were pretty impressive. It really was most overarching, just the fact that he came into this fight really strong. He took command of this thing pretty definitively throughout the first and kept it going through most of this fight. Unfortunately for Pacheco, the one time he had a dominant position, which was late in the third round, he really didn't do anything with it. So it was like, there really wasn't much of an angle for him to win this fight based on everything that we saw. It really felt like Pacheco was mostly just pumping the jab. That was the majority of what he was able to accomplish. But Luna, yeah, the movement was nice. The striking was nice. There was one time where Bro really legitimately rug pulled Pacheco. If I don't know if you saw that in the first round, he double legged him, like just like kind of just like one of those, and it just swooped down. He went. So I thought that was pretty funny and cool. I mean, like, yeah, there was a lot to take away from Luna as a growth potential. Like this is a prospect that is still being molded, and you can see the evolution potentially over fight if you continue to watch him. So I'm glad that he won this. Pacheco, a good person to do that against, like you said, learning opportunity there. Come back and continue to do good things.
Yeah, I wish we had a lot more to say, but this really goes for a lot of the fights on this. There was just such an overabundance of skill compared to the opponent, where I mean, it was really just an ass whooping for 3 rounds, guys. I mean, Luna really is a decent prospect. I mean, he came in from like an unknown organization, no contender series, no tough, showed up at this age with this amount of skill, and not saying that this is a lot of skill to base off of, like, oh my god, he just competed and he should be ranked. Like, guys, he's very very young. You had an opportunity to see what he could do with his striking, round out his game a little more, give him a little more cardio, give him a little more time. And if he's really into this shit, I mean, you guys could have your headliner for Mexico for your next couple years. I mean, this is, if you guys want to talk about Yair Rodriguez, I mean, I could see this dude being a fan. I'm more of a fan favorite in that regard, kind of deal. So
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I want to highlight this from Hydra. I think this is a great way to say it. Luna looked really complete for his age. I
yeah,
think that's a very good way to phrase it. Yeah, and with that, as the understanding, like still things that can even get better. So yeah, this is a really, I think, a solid prospect that should be someone to keep your eye on, because there could be more coming from him, and he's only going to grow. I mean, he's now got 2 wins in the UFC, right? So I mean, this is somebody who's already doing well and could continue to do just that.
yeah, I like him. I would definitely say he's pretty good. I mean, anybody who, again, one more time, beating somebody up for 3 rounds, it can get tiring. Angel Pacheco Never gets tired getting beat up, though. Tell you this.
True. Well, so now Pacheco on a multi-fight losing streak, correct?
Oh yeah, he's gone, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I don't know if Pacheco's going to be around for much longer to continue to give these fighters the opportunity to look so good. Same with Mutino. So we'll have to see what happens to Pacheco. But as we've said, they are shaving off the people who are not performing well lately, and I think it only makes for a better organization. But people like Pacheco and a couple of these other guys that we mentioned, we'll have to just see how long they stick around.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to the next one. This was one that made me very happy. This is Imanol Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. What I said about this fight is that Borjas was not playing around in the first round of this fight. He came out here to win. He actually looked pretty decent, especially compared to his last performance. I mean, we saw Borjas like a couple of times with Borjas. I feel like he's been a dude who's been slightly underwhelming, and maybe at times even more so than that. But Borjas dropped Rodriguez early. He blasted him with a couple knees. It was a tense situation for Imanol for a second there, and then Imanol, decent fight IQ, pretty a good wits about him to get the level change and get the trip, neutralize the momentum for Borjas, stay alive after that, not let himself get knocked out in the first round. Then he has a good comeback later on. Basically, what I was saying, or what you were saying, excuse me, about Reyes earlier on this card. I was saying about Imanol. I was saying that this showed a lot of like really good fight IQ, good awareness, and a good ability to stay within the fight when you were under some pretty heavy pressure from a Borjas who looked like he really wanted to win this at least in the first round.
So earlier I made a mistake. The scorecard that was posted that the first round was won by the person who I did not think it was. It was for this fight. They had
Ah,
given Imanol. Well, there was one judge who gave Imanol the first round in this fight, which is pretty funny, considering yes, he did get dropped two different times. Um, and
that's egregious. If there was a judge that gave Imanol that first round.
Chat, you might have to find that one for us really quick. But Borjas looked very good in the first round, and Borjas looks very good in striking when he's able to get it off. I've talked about this before, and it's a while ago at this point. Josh Van was not able to let him get his game off. Josh Van put him on the back foot and just dominated him. Imanol gave him a little too much credit. This is one of these other performances where again, you came in with a little beef, for no reason. They just came in with a little extra spice to it.
Sure.
And so first round, Kevin Borjas shows some slick striking and obviously drops Imanol, which is crazy because Imanol, in my opinion, would be the guy who I thought was going to get the upper hand in the striking. And then Borjas, drops him twice. Then we get down to the ground, and then this is where you see why Borjas is in the position of his career that he's in. He has no other elements to his mixed martial arts game other than boxing. There is nothing there on the ground. All he does is stall. All he does is look at the ref and wait for them to break it up. He has nothing there, and Imano isn't even doing anything at this point because he can't. He doesn't have the ground game yet to just like break a grip and start ground. You got to do other things. So he's unfortunately getting stalled by Kevin Borjas for the remainder of this first round, but he's able to maintain top position. Fine. Second round, we come in with a lot more confidence in the striking. Imano, again, just kind of needed to be woken up with a strike, it seemed. Unfortunately, it was two crazy ones that definitely lost you the round, in my opinion. But second round was fine. Great confidence. We get a flurry up against the cage, and then we kind of get a shot to the top of the head of Kevin Borjas, which, doesn't immediately drop him, but it is if he realized that it hurt really, really late. And then he
I
sat down and said, I'm done with that.
Yeah,
So
I called it a time release finish. It was
yeah.
it was definitely a delayed reaction that ended this fight for sure. Also, I wanted to highlight. First of all, shout out to TJF, the homie, for real. But he says that he can confirm that was the case when how you outlined with the judging, and that's beyond anyone's opinion. That is an egregious judging error right there. I mean, there's no way. I mean, with the drops, I mean, like what are you basing that on? The top control? Like that's garbage. There is no world where a judge should have given Emanol that first round. That's coming from a fan of Emanol. I mean, like, you gotta call it as you see it here and call it what it is. I mean, the damage is on the side of Borjas in that first round. There's no two ways about it. You get a drop. Generally, a drop should almost automatically get you the round unless there's a lot coming back the other way and you also get dropped, etc.
But let alone two drops.
Yeah, well, you're saying two drops. Was there what's this? The second one was what?
Oh, it was like in the same flurry.
Okay, oh,
He
gotcha. Okay,
dropped him and like Imano like fell like on his fucking face and then got up and then he got popped again and like
gotcha. Okay,
fell backwards kind of deal. They
yeah, part of the
it,
sequence.
yeah, it was definitely two major moments where it was like, oh dude, this dude, there's no way you come back from this. I mean, you're already flying across the cage like a fucking fish, from Kevin Borjas. Oh my gosh. But
Yeah.
Imanol is another guy who is very young, very new to he's very green in this game. But what I will say, unlike Santiago Luna and unlike Ryan Gondra, they gave him an opponent that is actually decent. He's the only one that had to rise to the occasion out of them. It's not like he was coming in here and he was supposed to get a 3 round domination because as Meat Rocket just lined out for us, Borjas won a where was it? Yes, he just beat Lazy Boy. So Borjas was decently he's fine. Obviously Josh Van is a different breed, but beating Lazy Boy, we know that that dude's not that good. So Borjas beating him, it like reassured us that like, yeah, he's able to pick out the frauds. But Imanol, he's the only person that actually had to fight for a win out of like the prospects, I would say. I mean, obviously we'll talk about some other ones, but in the next one we'll talk about. But Imanol actually had to fight for something here, and I think that says something that they don't. And I don't know if it's the company that makes the choice like this, or if it's the management of like how they want to handle his career. Let's not have him go through the bullshit hammy make a wish fucking fights. Get him in there for some fights that are going to make him grow as a fighter. If he loses, that's his career, man. That's the fight game. But if he wants to be a great fighter, we'll talk about it with Lonnie Kavanaugh later. If you want to be the best, you have to go against people that are better than you. So shout out Imanol. I like this performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And, I was rooting for him on Tough. I was rooting for him when he came back on the Contender Series. I was very happy with this as well. So I like Emanol. I think he's fast as hell. I mean, he's a shorter guy, so he's got a lot to prove, when it comes to taller and, other opponents that have different skill sets and all that kind of things. So I think that this was great. The only other note that I really had about it was that, Borjas, it just seemed in the second round that it was significantly less output. Like the fire had kind of gone out, and I just didn't know where that came from. And then, of course, he ended up, with the. There was a time where he actually looked like he had gotten hurt, and he tried to like poker face it a little bit. He got taken a left hand that kind of rocked him a little bit, but he sort of like muscled through it. And I think Emanol recognized it, where I was like, okay, great, another piece of fight IQ that's already there, and I was very happy with that as well. So, good deal there. Last thing, though, and this is not about the actual fighting, but this is a very interesting note that I don't know if you picked up on this, Chase. We talked about the referee in the Perez versus Chiasson fight and how there was a stand-up that was very out of it was not the correct call to make. It was a kind of an egregious mistaking of refereeing in that fight, right? This is the same referee in this fight. Bisbing said on commentary, quote, "I was informed by Mark Ratner that they had a conversation. So you mean to tell me that the VP of Regulatory Affairs for the UFC gets to tell the commission governed judge how he should do his job? Commission governed referee, of course, but you know what I'm saying, the judge of the fight, the officiant of the fight. Does that sound like that's appropriate?"
No, because as you later hear the discussion, Bisping rightfully has the assumption, or maybe it was the other one. Well, what if he judges the fight differently now? Like, what if
Right.
so, and obviously that was the point. Is like, so you judge the fight differently now, so you do something different. But what if he does? And then he starts doing something like, what if he wants to make the call and then he doesn't because he's thinking like, oh shit, if I do it, then the VP is gonna fucking fire me or whatever. So
Well, but the VP doesn't have he doesn't have the ability to fire them. The commissions are the ones that hire and fire and do all that kind of stuff. The fact that the organization has any influence over the commission is a serious conflict right there. That's not
they
that should not happen.
They did this a couple weeks ago with DC. DC said something like, "Oh, we sent him." They sent a text over or something like that, and I forget what it was, but then they immediately ran it back like, "No, that was a joke. That was a joke. I wasn't serious about that." But Maybe this was another instance of that joke, you know.
I mean, perhaps, but all I'm saying is that the things like that do not go well for the whole assumption that the UFC has sway over the judges and referees. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys, I don't know if it's a masks clip or if it's a joke or whatever, but like you hear those kinds of things, and in my mind, somebody who pays very close attention to the regulation of the sport, I'm like, that's a conflict of interest for real, for real. Like they should not be talking to each other almost at all. I mean, like it should, like they need to be separated. I mean, they can have conversations, but not when it comes to how the officiating and how the oversight of the sport goes. The organization is the organization. Oversight is oversight.
They could do whatever they want on any phone call as long as Cash Patel is dialed in. So
I mean, they are very lucky that Cash Patel is over there hanging out with the Olympic hockey team.
hell yeah. I also want to talk about this comment, just briefly. I'm very confused about what Chase thinks a fish is. First, he asked if it was an animal. Now, his example of any flying animal is a fish. Shout out Hydra. I'm glad you could pick up on these things.
I mean, there are flying fish, right? I mean, isn't that a thing?
They do
But
jump out the water. I don't know if they
yeah,
fly.
that bears can catch them right out the air. It's amazing.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Nature's
But
wonderful.
no, Imano's wonderful. That's what I would say.
Me too. I'm very happy that Eamon won this fight. I'm looking forward to his further fights. Definitely picked up on the thing about the commissions, though, so don't think that that gets by your boy, and I will file that away in the back of my mind should any other weirdness happen regarding the organization and the officiants.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight. This one I'm sure you have plenty of opinions about. This is Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. I mean, Edgar Chairez won this fight, but I thought it was not I wouldn't say barely, because I do think that he won the rounds that he won pretty definitively. But I would say personally, and I know that you're a bigger fan of this guy than I might have been, so maybe we look at this a little bit differently. But I'd say that I think his stock might have dropped just a little bit because he had a very hard time at points with Felipe Bunes of all people. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely will agree that this was not the best performance from Edgar Chairez. I think split decision is honestly pretty crazy considering we had a 30-27 for a razor close fight earlier on in this card, but now we want to try to defend Felipe Bunes for doing fuck all in the last two rounds. First round he was fine because he took the back and had the position on Edgar Chairez. Definitely took him out of the game for the first round. Definitely won it, no doubt. And Edgar Chairez, he didn't even have a chance to look that bad. But when they came into round two, the impression was, man, he's so off his game. He's this and that, and I think he was kind of just in his own head a little bit because he did start out a little slow in round two, but he won. Nothing too crazy. Felipe Bunes did nothing in round two. He's not very good on the feet. He doesn't do anything. And then round two, Edgar Chairez did the exact same thing where it was just a slow. This was just one. I don't even know, guys. This one really wasn't even that good. I feel bad because yes, Shira's losing stock. No, because I've seen what he can do, and I know he, in Mexico's eyes, he's not losing no stock. In my eyes, he's not losing no stock. But for people who had hope for like the idea that like this is like a 100%, kind of killer, maybe yeah you're kind of turned off by that, but like I think there's a possibility every time this dude gets in the cage that we'll see like a really good performance. It's not like we'll talk about in some more a fight here in a minute, it's not like write him off completely after this performance. It just looked like a little slow, not the best day. What can you say?
Yeah, I mean that really kind of goes into my main point about it, is just that Chirez never really went for it as far as heavy pressure goes. Like there were times where it was like you could have turned up the pressure to the point where those strikes could have been way more impactful, eventually overwhelming your opponent to the point that maybe a finish might have been possible, but he just never seemed to have gotten to that point. And then on the other side of the equation, to match him in that way, this is another handshake fight when it comes to that element of it, because Bunes, with no urgency whatsoever, after round one went his way. I mean, in round two, this was like really kind of just a bit of a dance for these guys. Then, of course, round three, there was a little bit more activity there, but that was mostly coming off of the Shirez side. I had it obviously with the backpacking in the first, 1-1 going into the third. And then the funniest thing to me, because of what I just outlined there, is Bunes in the third round constantly asking for more action, and then Shirez giving him more action, and then him not actually having anything to give back. It's like, bro, you are calling it on presumably for counter shots, but then not actually going for or getting any offense of your own from any of this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, this one, again, just not the performance I was hoping for. I was really expecting a, a very good finish from Shirez, but we didn't get that, unfortunately. And he was getting busted up a decent amount, from Bunez. But it was mostly just jabs that weren't really inflicting much. Damage in the way that, like, oh my god, he's gonna go unconscious. I mean, yes, he was bleeding, but like he was still walking forward, throwing his own strikes and winning the rounds convincingly. I
Sure.
agree with Meat Rocket. Still believing in Chirez because he's a decent fighter is not even that bad. It's not even that bad because he's faced, and this is again why I believe it's kind of like a one off thing, is because you say maybe Bunez is just better than we thought, but like Bunez is by far the most harmless dude that Shirez has fought, and Shirez has a 100% finish rate against a lot of people and against dangerous opponents, and he went to decision with Josh Fan and almost got a finish there. But most of the wins that he has, other than this one, again, other than this, I think it was all finishes that he has when they're wins. So I would like to believe that this was just a one-off time because he's a scary opponent when it comes to any other time.
Yeah, I'll go. I will go along with that thought process at least. I think that the only other things that really stood out to me as far as things to note in this fight were in the first round. I thought that it was really cool, even though it was very late in the round. I thought that it was cool that Shirez did the somersault slam. To when Bunis was still on his back, I was like, that would have been very good if it had come earlier in the round. But I can also understand not wanting to do that and then potentially get choked on the ground. So whatever. I still thought it looked cool, but like it would have been nice if maybe he had done that so that we could have seen a little bit more action in that round because it really was just pepper shots from Bunis all through that round. What's up?
No, you know what made me so mad in this round? Felipe Bunez kept grabbing the top of the cage, and not once, not twice, three times, got warnings every single time, kept doing it, and that's the reason that we kept staying on the cage is because every time Shirez would turn around, he would grab and turn them back around. It's absolutely ridiculous that the ref would just go, "Hey, no, don't do that."
Yeah, after like once of that, there should have been like a stop in the action and him be like a hard warning kind of thing. I do agree with that. Which I guess kind of is an unfortunate lead into my next point, which was I did want to at least give a little bit of praise to Mark Goddard in this fight because we are so critical sometimes of these referees. There was a time where Bunis took a clean shot he thought was an eye poke. Goddard said it was not an eye poke. He said, keep going. Shirez took advantage of that. I thought that was good for him to recognize and take advantage of. It was a clean shot. So Goddard deserves some praise there. He saw exactly as it was and did not stop action when there was no need to.
No, but that I'm not gonna lie to you. You can praise Mark Goddard all you want, and I will agree this is a very good call by him. But boy, is he lucky because I have never seen a closer non eye poke. Like, how did he see that bro did not poke him in the eye? Like, obviously his fist was closed, but like you could see like the lip of the leather like touch bro's eyelash. I was like amazed. Like, how in real time did you clock that that was a punch? Like
It's because he didn't do the Manel Cop punch poke.
true, you're not wrong. Yeah, I just that was a very good call by Mark Goddard.
Yeah.
Just shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, but then equaled out by exactly what you were saying earlier, where it's like, bro, if he's grabbing the top of the cage that much, you probably should make a bigger point of it. So
Yeah,
can't even have one fight where it's just like praise and nothing else.
I know it.
But yeah, so that's pretty much about it. Like I also said that split decision was pretty scandalous on this one. I thought it was pretty clear 2-1 to Shirez. Bunis basically just let this fight slip, in my opinion. I mean, really, that urgency in the last two rounds was what made it so that this was what it was. Shirez staying the course, and I thought that was very good. And the last little bit that I had was I thought it was very funny that Shirez had his interview, and that was all very nice. He leaves the octagon to go get his daughter to bring her back into the octagon and have a little moment in there. And Gatekeeper says, "No, dude, no dice, my friend. You're not going to be doing that." So they would not let him back inside of the octagon with his daughter. Unfortunate but funny.
I thought that was pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna. I thought that was pretty messed up.
I kind of did too. I was like, come on, man, you know what he's doing. Like, but I mean, I guess once you're outside of the octagon after the fight's over, no re-entry.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was pretty I was thinking the same thing. I was like, "Oh, no, no, they didn't let him back in. That's fucked up." But
Yeah, and it was even more so because you had the angle of the camera from outside of the octagon, so you saw it
and
like all
the two
front and center.
bodyguards step in front of it and they're like,
That's
"Nope, no fucking 7-year-old girl, get back."
he got the velvet rope at the nightclub, It
Yeah.
just latched that thing for him. But unfortunate there. But either way, good win for him. So, I mean, like again, I think that maybe, I was a little bit like underwhelmed to an extent, but I still think I was very happy that he won this fight based on what we saw. And I'm very glad that if it was a split decision, it didn't go the wrong way because that would have been a robbery.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on down the line. This was something over here. Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green is the fight. Green is just a hard guy to game plan for. I've wanted to say I'm play devil's advocate just for a moment here with this. I say that for at least to be the advocate for Zellhuber in a small way, King Green is a guy that you cannot plan for in training. I mean, no one fights like him. No one is going to do the things that he does in a fight with the hands low, the odd movement, the jaw flat. He was talking up a storm in this fight. Good Lord. This guy was motor mouthing like crazy during this fight and then emoting the entire fight, too. I mean, like, you obviously those things like when it comes to the talking and the emoting, a fighter should never let that get in their head. If you're letting your opponent get in your head with that kind of stuff, you're basically giving a part of the fight away just off rip. So that should not play a factor here. That being said, it was a fucking lot. So I can imagine that being hard just to figure out how to get your striking going and get your game plan off with those being the case. That being said, we have now very well come to understand that Daniel Zellhuber is not it.
I I definitely agree with you. I want to make a point, and I hope, and I'm not saying this to try to jump on a late bandwagon because I've definitely gave praise to Bobby Green before. But I would like to say that I hope I haven't made it seem like I'm not a fan of him, that I don't respect what he does, because Bobby Green is a very good fighter. He's a veteran fighter. He's been doing this a very long time. But at this point in his career, I think it is not in my best interest to keep betting, for him. So I would like to believe in the new era of people, and I would like to, go for the guys that should be able to step up and get this dude out of here. You know, and unfortunately, yeah, I would agree with you. I remember watching your stream when I turned it on right after this fight, and I listened to you say that, and I had the same exact point. Like, this, he just ain't it. He's just not him, guys. I mean, not even close. And like, you see that very early in this fight. You see so early on, Daniel Zellhuber just cut it dry. Just don't even accept the fandom. If he even pulls it out, like, don't even be happy. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You see so early that this is not what's going to win, and you can just really have fun. Like, this genuinely turned into one of the greatest hate watches, and I'm being so serious because Daniel Zellhuber, he- he- there was a point where you're watching, and Michael Bisping said it right after me, and I know I'm not the only one who said it out loud to themselves and everybody else they're watching with. There is a 40-year-old man standing in front of you with his hands on his hips. Punch him in the fucking face, bro.
Dude.
And he just wouldn't. He just wouldn't. He would just stand there with his hands up, and it's like he was in a dream, and he was punching in slow motion. Like, and even Michael Bisping said it. It's like, you have a 40-year-old guy in front of you with his hands down. Do something. You're gonna have to do something. And he
Yeah.
just absolutely refused. Bobby Green walked all over him mentally, physically, and it's not even the fact that he was doing it single, like, convincingly for 2 rounds. It's that he ends up eventually fucking chinning, bro, in the most embarrassing way that you can imagine. He goes noodle legged, goes flying across the cage, slams into the cage like hard as shit, falls to the ground, and then we got to get a stoppage from the ref because he's just taking so many shots. This one is so funny too because in Mexico, a Mexican is getting finished. I don't know if I ever recall an arena like, they didn't get quiet because they were already quiet before it was happening. Everybody knew that this dude sucked, and they like, and then when he got finished, like, there was just crickets because it's like, what can you even say? Like, you don't even feel bad for that dude. It's like, you knew damn well he was gonna have that happen to him. Like, I don't know, bro. Daniel Zellhuber, you're too old at this point. Like, you're young, but like, you're too old for a young guy for me to still have stock in you. It's not it, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what you made me think of there though is if it was quiet during the knockout, then it was quiet for quite a long time because this was a way late stoppage. Good Lord, Herb Dean let this dude take a lot of unanswered shots. I think on the watch along, somebody had said, it might have been Hydra, saying that this is retribution for all of the shots that Bobby Green took from Jalen Turner. But either way, yeah, I mean, really. So, also another thing from the chat I wanted to address is that I see people saying that why didn't Zellhuber use his range better? Why wasn't he throwing kicks and all this kind of stuff? Let me at least throw a point out here to that. This is one of the problems with the style that Bobby Green has, King Green here. He like the unorthodox nature of it and the way that he slips shots. He makes it hard to use ranged attacks because he will just dip out of anything that's coming towards him. Now, we do know that you do that long enough and Bobby Green will get chinned. I mean, like, so he should have been doing that anyway. But I think that in this fight, Zellhuber, another thing that came from the chat, I think Jeremy Hall had said, was that he looked bewildered. He didn't look like he knew what the plan was. And so it's like if he is off his game already and he's not having success with the ranged attacks, that's I think where this all came from. It's like I know what I should be doing by throwing these shots. This dude here is just too unpredictable for me to actually be landing any of this stuff. So now I've got to recalibrate on the fly. Not a guy that obviously can do that. This is where I think the problems start to come into play. So I hear what you guys are saying about all of that kind of stuff, but I think there might be at least a little bit of a way to explain it. Either way, it doesn't equal up to a win and it equals up to a knockout. Goes back to the original point. Zellhuber, not it.
This is just unfortunate. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, this is you're a Mexican guy in Mexico. They give you a 39-year-old opponent. This is not the first 39-year-old opponent that you faced, mind you. 40 years old coming up next year, and he butchers you on the feet and beats the hell out of you into a finish to the point where you get up noodle legs still arguing with the ref that it shouldn't have been stopped. Like, brother, it should have been stopped after the first round because you didn't do a goddamn thing. So I don't
Bro,
know. This was just hard to watch. It wasn't hard to watch. It was if you were still on the idea that you could like root for Daniel Zellhuber, but once you just get it out your mind, King Green did it once again. Love to see him actually pull off a performance where he fluke when he not flukes, but when he fraud checks the prospect because he is a fun fighter. He does have a good style that is very effective when somebody is able to be, mentally manipulated in the cage.
for sure. And you're talking about the noodle legging. I said that he turned Zellhuber into a cartoon character for a second
Mm.
there, the way he was going back. So yeah, that was certainly a sight to behold. Yeah, I also give King Green some credit here. I mean, like when he has the fight that is working for him, the style is entertaining. And also one thing too, with all of the fights that he has had at this point, when he is in his rhythm, he maintains a rhythm. That was the thing that I really noted here, like leading up to the finish, was that when King Green keeps the striking rhythm, it becomes a pattern that is replicatable for him to the point that he can wear the opponent down, get him backed up, and eventually get the finish. So I thought that all of that really played out exactly as it should. And again, okay, the one last thing I also do want to say, at least in credit of Zellhuber, was I did think it was kind of cool that he went for a modified buggy choke. Like that's very rare that you would see that in the UFC. Did not get it. Doesn't really matter.
I was gonna say, can you just not give him any more props? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, does he deserve anything? I
When
don't
was the
know.
last time you saw a buggy choke in the UFC?
I didn't see him complete one.
That's a good point. So there you go.
So,
Well, I'm trying to at least
but
throw a little bit of praise in there somewhere.
Bobby Green, and I don't know if this comparison is like, if people have made this before, but Bobby Green, it's not the way he fights. I mean, it is, but he's sort of in a way like a Sean Strickland. He's just in the same shape as always. He's going to do everything the same way every fight. He's just always going to be this version of the fighter. And, Meat Rocket just said, so Hooper's lost to two 40-year-olds with almost 40 losses between them. Almost 40 different people have beaten these two guys, but they have both beaten Zell Hooper. What
Well,
does that tell you?
and that goes to the same point. I believe that it was a Hydra said earlier. Zellhuber has been the favorite in the three losses that he has taken, and a sizable favorite at that. I don't know what trick this dude has pulled on us. I guess it really was the Esteban Ribovics fight that has pulled the wool over our eyes for this long. But guys, we must rip the veil backwards here. I mean, we cannot let the Zellhuber trick us once again. I mean, this has to be known facts at this point.
Yeah, no, this one
Yeah.
was very bad, but shout out King Green because you made it a very fun fight.
Absolutely. And shout out King Green because he's just trying to show an example of what a hard black man looks like.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure that some people might have already seen what that looks like at some point in their lives, but Bobby Green certainly showed us that here. So shout out to him for that. That's something he said in his post fight. And he also remembered the name of his strip club this time. Chase, remember a while back, Bobby Green on that last fight, he shouted out his nightclub and did not say the name of it. But this time we found out the name. It's Fantasy Topless.
Nice. The Yeah, good on Bobby Green. Absolutely.
Good on the
Oh
hard
no,
black
I know what
man.
I was gonna say. Yes.
Yes.
No, it was to that point. Shout out Bobby Green for going into Mexico, beating a Mexican, and shouting out Black Lives Matter or whatever he did, you know.
Black History Month. Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go.
But it was really funny that because he said, shout out to Black History Month, and then tried to say it again, but could not find the words for some reason, and like went into this really long, weird stumble. I think a little bit of the CT might have crept in there a little bit, but I don't know. Either way, I'm a huge fan of Bobby Green. I like the guy. I think that he's a fun fighter when fights go this way. So I was very happy for this. But really, the bigger point is Zellhuber. This is how many times can a guy get fraud checked?
No, absolutely. No, he's brother. He needs to not fight again.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't have to go that far, but yeah, I mean, I understand the sentiment. Either way, let's talk about the next one here, and maybe you'll say something similar about one of these guys. This is, of course, Marlon Chito Vera versus David Martinez. To be fair, this is probably one of the better Chito performances we have seen in his last 4 fights. That being said, I mean, you saw what this was. Now, I will say that during the initial watch, I myself had said I thought that there might have been a slight case for Cheeto possibly having won this fight. I went back and rewatched. No, definitely not. I was incorrect.
This fight, there's not really much to talk about. It is one long round. It is David Martinez doing a lot of the better striking, landing more of the better power shots. Cheeto Vera walking forward, not doing any much, doing the Cheeto thing that he does, waiting until the last 10 seconds to finally actually do anything in the fight. But David Martinez was just way too up at that point. I mean, that looks like they gave Cheeto a round, but honestly, I couldn't have told you that he won a round.
Uh,
This fight, from what I remember, it was just David Martinez doing the same thing for the entirety of the fight, and Cheeto Vera following him around like a dog.
well, that's interesting to me because I would have thought that in that third round, you would have been the one to say that you thought Martinez might have been running a little bit.
I mean, yes, but like he was tired. No, you're right. I do remember him doing a little bit of a running performance, but I think the reason that I don't agree with that too much is because Vinicius Oliveira went on Twitter right after this, and he said, "I don't understand scoring these days. How did David Martinez run away from Cheeto Vera for 3 rounds and win?" And it's like, well, that's not necessarily what I saw. So I think I'm a little biased against his opinion of it, that I would say, no, David Martinez didn't run away from him the entire time. I mean, he did a lot of the good striking up until he was completely destroyed in cardio, which, again, there's got to be room for improvement. These are young guys who are getting steps up in competitions that are a little unheard of. I mean, Cheeto Vera is not necessarily the golden gloves of the division or whatever you want to say, but going against him and going 3 rounds, that was the point. They want to have somebody who can have that late threat, that if he gasses out, he can get finished. But that's not what happened. And yeah, he maybe did a little bit of a running performance, but he survived. If I can get mad about everybody else, if I gotta accept that Zalal can do it for 3 rounds, David Martinez can do it for 1 round when he's completely tired.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say is the only validity to that statement is the third round. But what I would counter it with is that even if there were times where he was evading and a little bit evasive, he always came back around to the striking. There was never a time to me that like for an extended time where he like would be like on the outside and staying on the outside. He would circle out, he would do a big circle out because he was a little tired, but he would circle out and come right back into the striking thereafter. So I don't think that there's really a valid criticism to say that he was even really running in the third round in the sense that we would say like that's a running performance to me at least. So I put that to the side. Really, I thought that this was very solid for Martinez overall. It was a strong start, of course. Standard start for Vera on the other side. Martinez lightning fast. I mean, this guy's movement. I'm big on the movement, especially of a lot of these Mexican fighters, because they skew a little bit to the smaller side, and that's where you should be the fastest. Is if you have that range of motion, the fast twitch is going to be better for the smaller guys. Martinez here does just that. Cheeto is powerful but slow, and he is fucking lazy. This is what I was saying on the last episode of this show, and this fight proves it yet again. Why I say this was one of his better performances is because once he finally got the fire under his ass in the third round, he was bringing the fight to him a little bit more, but it should not take 3 rounds for that to be the case. I felt terrible. It was his coach was really getting on him for these rounds, saying, very honestly, I thought his coaching was very accurate. You lost that first round. He's like, second round, it's not enough. You got to start turning up here. You got to finish this guy now. Like he gets all of the notes. He has everything that he needs, and yet he still goes in here and performs exactly like this. I don't have any sympathy for him. On top of that, I also do not like the fact that he hit Martinez after the horn after the first round. I'm like, Cheeto has made himself very unlikable to me.
That was actually a little bit of both of them. It was a little after the bell for David, and then Cheeto gave him one back, like, "Well, you hit me first, pussy," kind of deal. So
I guess. I mean, like if it was on the horn for David, fair, whatever. I'll give you that part. But I guess I think maybe like the same way that Vinicius kind of colored your opinion about the running. I think that all of what I have seen out of Cheeto for the last 5 fights or however many it's been is now starting to color my own opinion about him. So it's like if I'm a little hypercritical of him, it's probably because he's just become very unlikable in general. Always complaining about the losses, going in there and fighting like this and thinking the outcome's going to be different, wanting the fight to come to him. You know how I feel about that. Go get the win. That is what you are there to do. The fight does not come to you. You should not expect the fight to come to you. It is your job to make the win happen.
yeah, I absolutely agree. And Cheeto once again putting on the performance of a lifetime, where you realize that he is just not that guy either. I mean, somehow he stays up in the rankings, and honestly, I'm glad that David Martinez is going to take his spot, because I think this is somebody who's very exciting, with a lot of promise, very high ceiling, and definitely on his way to doing something good. It's pretty interesting. Hydra even said it. This guy was a surgeon until 2 years ago. I bet his cardio is going to improve. Of course, yes, but what is with that camp? It's him and his sister, and they really got something good going there. So
Yeah, I mean, well, it's unfortunate that his sister retired for whatever reason. She just sort of took herself out of the sport, but it was nice to see little Melly Martinez in the corner and backstage. There's actually, I wasn't going to mention this, but there was one moment that was a little bit strange. It was, when they do those shots backstage and it's them shadow boxing before there, it was
she
Martinez.
was standing there.
She was standing there like she was it was like the Blair Witch Project. She was just kind of like standing very still and like very like kind of just like hyper fixated on something. It was very odd. She looked like a statue. It was just kind of off-putting, but
I
still good to
definitely
see her.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, very weird, but still shout out to Melly though.
One of the weird things also that I don't know if you saw, this was the pre-fight stuff. So Marlon Cheeto Vera is getting his hands wrapped by his coach, and the coach is like talking to the interviewer, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, he's gonna be real good tonight. He's gonna be super slick. He's gonna come in there. He's been telling me all week he's gonna punch through his face, this and that." And like Cheeto's just like, you can see Cheeto there, and he's
Mhm.
like listening to all this stuff, internalizing it, and then has this fucking performance. But
Yeah.
the point I wanted to make is like, why is Tate the cut man not doing the fucking hand wrappings? Now anybody's coach can just wrap your hands. If it's the one, I'm pretty sure it's a thing that like the cut men's do in the back. Like I don't think your coach can just happen to do it on a whim. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that because I know a person who does do that for the commission. So I mean, I do think that it's generally a commission person that does it, but there might be a like it might be okay for the coach to do it as well, or like maybe it's like part of it has to be done by the commission and another part can be the coach. I don't know. That's a good question actually. I'll have to ask Brian about that, my homie who does that. But yeah, I did think it was a little odd. I do remember what you're talking about. Yeah, Charlie Arnold sitting there on the chair and interviewing interviewing the coach while Cheeto's getting his hands wrapped. Yeah, a little bit strange.
Yeah. But, no, I remember seeing, the sister standing in the back. I was like, "Man, she's just standing there, like, what is she fucking looking at?" You know? But
Looked like a horror movie. It was very weird.
mhm.
Anyway, anything else about this fight?
No, unfortunately, Cheeto Vera putting on another Cheeto Vera performance, David Martinez leaping over him absolutely in style.
Absolutely. And how many more fights? How much longer can Cheeto get away with this? A, before he realizes that it is his own fault that this is happening, and B, how many more fights until like the organization recognizes that this is a problem? I mean, he's on a multi-fight losing streak now, like a significant one, no?
Yes, I believe so. Let me just double check
Yeah, like
that.
4 fights, I want to say.
Oh, god damn, yes.
Yeah, 4 fight losing streak for Cheeto, and I mean it's still just hovering around the rankings now. I mean this is like has to be recognized at some point that this is not okay. I mean you got all these other guys getting cut. Granted, Cheeto of course in a different position than a lot of the guys that have been cut, but how much longer is the question?
Mhm. And Bleeding Edge, Piper says he doesn't wrap his hands before the fight. I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, I mean everybody gets their hands wrapped. Come on, give me a break.
It's a commission thing, you know.
Yeah,
You got
yeah,
to like,
exactly. It's standard.
yeah.
So
Exactly. You weren't aware of that option because it's just a fucking phallus.
yeah, because it's Joey Piper doing Joey Piper things by spouting nonsense.
And we cannot bring him up during the Mexico fucking watch along. Please,
Good
guys.
point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, no more Piper talk. So let's talk about the main event instead. This is, of course, the main event of the evening: Brendan Moreno versus Lanier Kavanagh. I think Chase, what I said after this fight concluded is this sport evolves day over day. As I say many times, the sport moves very quickly and very slowly at the same time. This was one where it maybe did both at the same time for me, but really what it equals up to for me is that the Brandon Moreno of the past seems to be gone, and I must come to terms with this. This was a bitter pill to swallow after watching this performance, but this was possibly the worst that we have seen Moreno in his last few performances, especially compared to the version that fought Amir Albazi. It was night and day difference. It was almost a perplexing performance to me based on what we were seeing out of Lonnie Kavanagh. I do not want to take anything away from Lonnie Kavanagh because I think that he did very well. I thought this was a very measured, very calculated, and composed performance for him, perhaps even a little bit too much so at times, because I think that there was occasions where he might have been able to maybe turn up a little bit more than he had in select instances. But I really think most of the onus needs to be on Brandon Moreno in this fight, and the fact that he did not look like himself, or now I think more to the point, he looked like a shell of his former self.
This fight is another one where I would say this is just one long round of a fight. The exact same thing happened every round. Lonnie Kavanagh got the better of Brandon Moreno, started with the leg kicks early, and Brandon Moreno was hobbling around for the rest of the fight and following Lonnie while he just peppered him from the outside. I mean, the scoring would like you to believe that it was only one round deficit, but by my estimate, and this is why, again, I watch plenty of fights, but you guys would say I don't know anything. Lonnie Kavanagh won, if not all of the rounds here.
Oh, no, I had that same note. Fitzgerald made me laugh. I said this on the watch along. Fitzgerald said, he really said before the fifth round, you could make the case for 3-1. You could also make the case for 2-2. I was like, what fight are you watching here? There is no way. I mean, I also had it. I had it a clean sweep personally. I'm really not like, I don't think that there was any time where I thought Moreno had the true upper hand in this fight. I mean, if you want to be generous and say that some of the later clinching on the cage, maybe you're counting the control, but that's neutralization. If anything, I think that should go to the side of Kavanagh for not allowing the takedown. It's another big point of this fight. I had said that Moreno, he did not level change early enough, especially after he had gotten hurt in the second round. This fight could have been ended in the second round had Lonnie Kavanagh navigated a little differently. That aside, Moreno, just the instincts just didn't seem to be there, which is crazy to say about someone like Brandon Moreno, a former champion. It should not be an instincts thing as far as I'm concerned. But either way, it was a poor navigation of this thing and a lack of output on Moreno's side. And then when he finally did try to level change, Lonnie had an answer for it. So I don't see what anybody is saying if they thought that there was more to it than that. I think that Moreno pretty handily lost every one of these rounds.
It's what it is, and this is truly what I'm telling you. This is one of the most special performances that anybody has ever pulled off. I mean, to go into Mexico against a former champion on short notice for 2 extra rounds than you've ever been in your life, in the UFC, of course, whatever you want to say, and to not only win, but to to just whoop your opponent's ass for 5 rounds, of course, in his home territory, former champ, all of these things. I mean, and to not even show a sign of weakness, not get taken down, not even get hit to the point where you thought it could be over. He's on the ropes. None of this stuff. I mean, I talked about Justin Gaethje against Patty being a very good on the level of great because of the staff implications and anything like that. Short notice, 5 rounds, Lonnie Kavanagh in Mexico, altitude. This guy really put on one of the greatest performances that there've ever been in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that. I think that this was a truly career-defining performance for Kavanaugh, at least up until this point. Obviously a long career left to go. But I mean, to do what he did, exactly as you outlined. I mean, all of those things are absolutely true. And really, what it comes down to for me, I think that early in the fight, I believe it was round one, Kavanaugh's corner was yelling out "no respect," and I was like, that was the exact right mindset to have, because he literally showed no respect to any of those accolades that Brendan Moreno has amassed in his career. Went in here like it was any other fight, fought as hard as he needed to fight, and got the victory that he so rightly deserved from this performance. So I think that this really Lonnie Kavanagh has proven a lot, and especially to do that. Also, one thing that I'm sorry if you did say this, but coming off of a knockout, I mean, this is
Oh,
a
true.
Charles Johnson knocking him out in the previous fight, like that could be something that for a young fighter like Kavanagh could have shaped his perception of himself. I mean, it's a mental game as well as a physical one in this sport. Who knows how you think about yourself? Who do you see when you look in the mirror after you get knocked out? Lonnie Kavanagh still saw the man. He went out there and became the man in this fight.
I think it's interesting because while you would believe, well, what you would say when you think of Lonnie Kavanaugh, you would say that he's a very well-rounded prospect. He's got a lot of skills everywhere, and he's got power. He's got takedown defense. He maybe leaves his hands down a little bit, whatever. He'll get it. But truly, I think the thing that is like his number one aspect, like his one thing that is like to his name, it's got to be his speed. He's so fucking fast.
Yeah.
He's so fast.
Well, and that's, and on the other side, I mean, like, you're talking about Kavanaugh there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I'd say on the other side, then Moreno, who is usually the fast guy, or a guy that at least can be fast when the time is appropriate, was slow, and his feet were heavy in this fight. It felt like he didn't have the same range of motion that he normally would. Like maybe he was waiting to be pushed to that point, but he was being pushed to that point and did not do it. I'm telling you, this was really a shadow of the former Brandon Moreno in this fight, and against an opponent that should have been the exact type of opponent that you do better against. I mean, a guy who's coming in younger to the sport, whatever, coming off of a knockout, all the things that we just said, these should be the things that you are easily able to leapfrog. That's why we had the thought process that we had coming into this fight.
If you saw in this fight, Brandon Moreno had there was like a bruise on the back of his calf after a little bit.
Yes.
It potentially could have went into the fight with that. A lot of people were saying that he probably had like a leg injury or something. But if that's cope, it is what it is. But I'm of the assumption that Lonnie Kavanaugh went in and disabled Moreno's game with the leg kicks early. And then that was the end of it. Once you saw Moreno, doing this little shuffle to get his legs kind of untight, I mean, it was either long loss or TKO loss. It really wasn't a winning situation for him right there, I thought.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if the lead leg was compromised before the fight happened, then it only got 10 times worse based on how much Kavanaugh was eating up that leg. Good Lord, those low kicks were hard, heavy, and frequent from him. So, look, all things considered here, Lonnie Kavanaugh definitely made a name for himself in this division with this fight, as far as I'm concerned. And Brandon Moreno, if there's still a glimpse of the former fighter that you once were inside there, now coming off of two back-to-back losses, it's now or never, I would say, to reprove to the world. It's you are in the you must have forgot territory right now. You need to wake everybody back up and make them know who you once were, because much like Israel Adesanya, champs change over time, and even though he's not the oldest guy, this is the arc. He's really like fulfilling the arc that we have seen time and time again from champions. So now or never, brother.
Absolutely.
So yeah, well, oh, and also I did want to just very briefly mention, shout out to Bleeding Edge. Thank you very much, Bleeding Edge, for letting us know that apparently you are allowed to not wrap your hands if you so choose. So I did want to
Mhm.
throw that in there to correct ourselves if that's the case.
Yeah. Dumb decision, but your decision to make.
Bingo, exactly. And that all being said, that was UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Kavanagh in Mexico City. Chase, after talking it through, final thoughts on this thing?
It wasn't as good as I remembered. As I was going into it, I said this might be the second best card of the year. I'm gonna take that back and say maybe this slots into like third or fourth, but it was still enjoyable. Honestly, the main event, just because Lonnie won doesn't mean it was like a letdown. It was genuinely impressive to see a performance like that from somebody that you had no expectation to pull anything like that off. So it didn't really ruin the night, but it was like a wow, like it's times changed. So
Yeah, for sure. I liked this card. I thought that this one was pretty fun overall. We got a lot of finishes on this card, especially finishes early, which are always nice because it sets the tone. You get yourself in a good mood. Seeing a couple of fights with finishes on there. Had a very nice ladies fight early on the card as well. I was satisfied with this card. I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily put it up in like the echelons of like the greatest cards of all time, but it was certainly a very serviceable fight night, and I enjoyed it, all things considered.
absolutely.
All right. Well, that being said, before we move on to the upcoming card, do you want to let everybody know where we stand on our predictions?
Yes. So we are the total points that we have for this year's picks. I am at 48 points. Thinker is at 39 points. So you're in reach. I had a little bit of a slow week, so I'm glad that we're going to be able to bounce back. I don't know if anybody noticed, there are only 10 fights on this week's card to pick from. So make sure you do your research and make sure you pick right, because if you get one wrong, it's going to make a big impact on your percentages.
Indeed, and I'm creeping back up a little bit from the very large hole I have dug for myself from being wrong so many times now. So I have to do really good here if we do choose differently. If we do choose differently, of course, Chase and I are both streaming to our individual channels. So like the person's channel who you think has the better takes. Of course, I am at youtube.com/@Yama Show, and Chase is at youtube.com/@CP Smalls.
Hell yeah. But no, this card should be very, very fun to go over. So I'm excited to look into it quickly.
Absolutely. And before we do, shout out to the 10-7 MMA, brother. Good to see you, my man.
And that's actually a really funny comment. New pronouns. Let's go for that.
Like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm completely with that. All right. Well, starting this card off, it is the rematch, of course. This is Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2 for the BMF title. Chase, what are you thinking here?
I don't know what to think, honestly. I just know that when you have two guys who are premier finishers, especially, at this point in their career, Max has definitely formed into more of a finisher. And going up to light heavyweight might pack a little more punch. Charles Oliveira is also a finisher, but this leads me to believe with this high level of skill, we are not going to see a finish from them. But with that being said, I'm going to say Max Holloway is my pick to beat Charles Oliveira. I have always been a fan of Max Holloway. I have definitely seen him do some crazy stuff. And my time watching and, live and keeping up with the sport, it has been the resurgence of Max Holloway. Not that he's ever fallen off, but, I missed out an entire era where he was just losing to Volkanovski. And then when I come back, he gets a match with the Korean Zombie and then knocks him out. And then he gets Justin Gaethje and knocks him out. And like, these are the type of things that I love about Max Holloway. He went up against Ilya, no fear. Charles Oliveira did the exact same thing as well. Max Holloway, he made that shit 2 rounds though, guys. I mean, I don't know if you knew, but Ilya on the block is hard to make it out the fucking first round at this point. Max went a little bit further than there, and he actually gave him a little bit of he gave him a little bloody face. He was looking a little swelled before he knocked out my boy Max. But I don't know how to take this one. It's going to be a hard one, but I'm going to say Max Holloway is my choice.
Ah, man, I am so conflicted about this fight because you may know that Max Holloway is my favorite fighter currently. I would say I am a huge fan of Max Holloway. I don't have a lot of MMA related apparel. You know, I don't really wear a lot of fighter shirts. Very select fighters that I have MMA shirts from. Max Holloway is certainly one of them. Um, Charles Oliveira is a guy who is really great at specific things. This is a very yin and yang fight to me. You know, Max, the consummate striker, Charles Oliveira, a guy who can take you down and smother you for as many rounds as he wants to often. That being said, Charles Oliveira has always been somebody, and I know that this is a crazy statement for a lot of people, but Charles Oliveira has always been someone that I have felt in his more prominent time in the sport has been slightly overblown in the way that his skills are presented. I know
He's a
this is
marauder, mate.
it, and there you go. And everybody will automatically be like, think blah, 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 blah. It gets a million people saying a million things. I get this. But what I have seen out of Oliveira is a rise from, being cut from the organization and coming back all the way up from the bottom. And I respect that. I respected it tremendously. I love Charles Oliveira. I think he's a great human being and his story is commendable. But once he has gotten to the top, it's been a little bit back and forth, just a little bit. You got to acknowledge it. You see what the record is. That said, Max Holloway not always a guy who's come out on the right side of the victories here as well. So I mean, like this really is like, I mean, like I'm not necessarily even like the hugest fan of this fight as like the main event of a card based on everything else we have going on in the sport right now. But if this is the fight that we're getting, I think that the matchmaking is actually really good, regardless of being a rematch. Where both of these guys are in their career, I think that this is a good fight potentially based on the skill set. So it's a tough one for me to pick, man. It's a very tough one. My heart says Max, my brain says Charles. What do I go with on that? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like part of me wants to go so much into thinking that Charles Oliveira is going to be able to get the ground game off and keep Max down and just hold him down and smother him for like 3 rounds at least. Max being a guy that's going to be able to chin him, Max being a guy that has good ranged attacks, might not let that happen. It's tough, bro. It's almost a coin flip for me.
All
What do I
right.
do?
So what is the final answer? Is it going to be the
Ah,
guy you own merch of, or is it going to be the guy that you know probably will have blonde hair?
I'm going to go with Max. Gosh darn it. I'm going to go with
All
Max. I know
right.
it could have been a perfect opportunity for us to have picked differently, and I will kick myself as always when I am wrong about this, but at least we'll be wrong together. Either way, yeah, I mean, I got to go with Max, man. I mean, like, I think that the striking has been so good lately, and yeah, he could get this finish. Max can get this finish. I believe that to be so. I believe it.
Absolutely. And you've made the chat very mad, by the way. You're
I know. I'm
talking
sure.
about this main event like it's just fucking Esparza and Rose, you know?
Who said that? I didn't say it. What is going on over here? I mean, again, I understand how much people like Charles Oliveira. I am a big fan of him as well. I see what I've seen at the top. I've never been super sold on him being the elite of mixed martial arts. He could probably be the CJI champion forever. You know what I mean? But like when it comes to MMA, he's had mixed results. I gotta go with my man Max, bro.
One thing I will note about Charles, and I think this is just the most interesting thing, and this has nothing to do with this performance. This is just a little MMA math for you. Charles Oliveira is one of the most elite submission artists in the game. He could not submit Michael Chandler, but fucking Dustin Poirier could, guys. So
I mean, come on. I think you're making my point here is exactly why I've got to go with my guy Max Holloway. I mean, and I don't even know if he's going to get a knockout here, but what I do know is Charles Oliveira has been knocked out
oh,
twice.
last fight?
Exactly. Well, fight
Well,
before
two
last.
fights ago.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
sorry. Yeah,
exactly.
Gamrot. Yeah.
But so I mean, by Islam and by Ilya, those are two of the most elite fighters that we have currently and potentially of all time, right there. Max Holloway is somebody who can make the volume work in his favor to the point where he might just have to grind out the knockout, but it still could happen.
Absolutely.
So, all right, and look, chat. I hear the fury in there. If you are going for Charles Oliveira, best of luck because I am a big fan, as I said.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Caio Bahayo is fighting Rainier de Ritter, the man who quit on the stool 2 times. What are you thinking, Chase?
This one, I feel like if you say Kaio, then it's like, oh, it's because you think Rainier is, it's because he quit. But I truly just believe that I I think Kaio matches up a lot better. I think he's going to be a lot faster. I think if Kaio actually does have the grappling that the mythical tales have been telling me, then it should be no question that he's going to be able to just be on the ground with Rainier while he doesn't get finished, and then it gets back to the feet at the beginning of the round, or he gets up eventually, and then Kaio's able to use a lot of his range striking because he's got that karate stance. He's able to keep range very, very well. Rainier de Ritter has a striking style that's tailor made for getting on the inside. He wants to blast knees. He wants to, get very, very up in your face. But Kaio might be able to stay on the outside and just not let that happen. I mean, I really think that picking Kaio is the right choice here, even though it's not because Rainier de Ritter quit. It's just because I think Kaio is going to have an easier time, striking with him. And if it goes to the ground, I don't think Rainier de Ritter is going to have the opportunities to get a finish in the subbing against Kaio.
I think the thought process checks out, and I'm glad that you put the quitting on the stool to the side with that, because I think that is the right way to look at it. I don't think that necessarily should be like the main thing that you think about with this. To me, it is something that is a very glaring element of your aura as a fighter, just who you are as a fighter. It certainly is a big thing on your list of accolades. However, I do think that from what we have heard, Rainier de Ritter has been going to a therapist of some sort, or like some kind of, like doctors and things like that, to get himself right with that. He's been, whatever the reasoning was saying about the like the cardio not being there, and he needs to sort through some medical related stuff. Well,
Yes, I normally go to a therapist when my cardio is not working
I mean, not
correctly.
a mental therapist, like a physical therapist of some sort. Yeah, he's
Gotcha,
working
I
on his
gotcha.
problems.
I
Darn
just
it!
thought it was funny. Continue on.
Well, he might have needed to go to a therapist to live down what he has done now 2 times on the stool. But
True.
either way, all of those things being as they are, I'm actually going to go with Rainier de Ritter on this fight. I think that even though all of what you said is like does check out, I think that if Rainier de Ritter comes back more like a complete, if all of those issues that we just talked about are to the side, I think that the length is going to be to his favor. I think that he might not be able to strike with Kaio like if they are at closer range, but if he uses his ranged attacks effectively, or if he gets past kicking range and gets into the clinch and throws those knees like he was doing against Bo Nickel, he's got a couple of striking options. And then, of course, the ground game, he's going to have a dominant advantage, I would say. So I think Rainier de Ritter is what I'm going to go with on this fight.
I think the other thing that I would like to know is that um, Kaio is shorter than Rainier de Ritter, but that shouldn't be a problem with Kaio because he faced Paul Craig, who's a shit striker, but he was still able to find the range to strike against a taller striker and find those finishing shots. If you look back, it was kind of similar to what Sharabullah did to what fucking that dude's the terrible dude, Mackenzie Dern's ex husband.
Oh, Chicoli.
It's kind of similar to like that. Like you gotta jump and just hit these dudes as hard as you can with as much range as you can grasp. And I think Kaio, he showed that he has that ability against Paul Craig, who again, not a very good striker. Clearly, we knew he was going to get finished by Kaio, but it's really just going to depend on who's walking forward. If Kaio's able to land some good strikes on the back foot, it's going to be fine. But if Rainier de Ritter's pushing the pace, he's probably going to get him up against the cage, and like you said, the knees are going to be working if he can get the clinch going. So we'll have to. I don't know. I like Kaio. I like the pick though.
No, I do, and I like Kaio as well. I mean, Kaio versus Jared Cannonier is like one of my favorite fights of recent memory, and I thought he did really, really well in that fight against a Jared Cannonier, who I'm a
How'd
huge
that
fan
ref
of.
do?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that probably could have been stopped a little bit earlier, perhaps, but there you go. Goes back to my point from earlier about with the ref's discretion. That being said, though, I mean, really, my point was with that is that I do. Kaio is a guy who will be able to stick it out through some levels of adversity. I mean, Jared Cannonier still was in that fight for a lot of it until he wasn't. But Kaio, he can take the damage sometimes, but we have seen some elements, at least in his last fight, where maybe he didn't look like like the same fighter that we thought that he might have been. We've been saying about the fighting nerds that there's been a little bit of shakiness on some of these guys in recent times. I want to believe that Rainier de Ritter comes back better after this unfortunate issue that he had been going through. Hopefully, all of the cardio stuff is as it should be, and I definitely don't think that Kyle is going to be muscling him around the same way that Brendan Allen was. So he shouldn't run into the same issues in this fight that he ran into the last one.
Hell yeah. We'll see though. We'll see if that cardio is working.
And it's going to be the $1 million question. And look, I'm thoroughly prepared. This is going to be a fight that I would probably avoid as far as betting on personally, for the reasons that we're talking about. Like, so if I'm completely ready to eat my words on the next episode of this show. Should Rainier de Ritter shit the bed again?
Hell yeah.
All right, next up, Rob Font is fighting Raul Rosas Jr. There he is. Where the hell has this guy been for so long?
Yeah, he's been sitting out doing the Chia Whiz thing and, trying to be the party guy. And, it goes back to the Eileen thing. Unfortunately, at 21 years old, Raul Rosas Jr. tells us every day, every time he gets the opportunity, I love to party, I love to have a good time, this and that. And
Bro is hood rich.
he's legally able to drink now too. So
That's what I'm
he
saying. This guy has gotten a little bit of shine. He's one of those dudes that a little bit of money early on. Plus, I hate to say it, and I'm really not trying to be that guy, but he's not. He's got the facial features that he has. A little bit of money kind of gives him a status that maybe he didn't have when he didn't have money. I mean, so it's like you kind of get a little bit more of a self value that maybe is a little inflated when you're this young with a little bit of cash in your pocket.
So what I will say to that is that I don't know if the long, luscious career that Raul Rosas Jr. thinks he's going to have is going to be it. He plans to get the belt by 23, break John Jones' record, and retire. So I yeah, exactly. So Rob Font is a perfect opportunity to be able to fraud check Raul Rosas Jr., if that's what you want to call it at this stage of his career. But Rob Font, unfortunately, is 38 years old, goes back to the Bobby Green situation where I'm just not going to put any stock in the 38-year-old because when it comes down to it, when they lose badly, when it's the first time they ever get knocked out, when it's the first time they ever do this, there's no coming back from that. You're 39 years old, mate. If Raul Rosas Jr. gets knocked out, it's like, all right, I can grasp at something. He's only 21. He can have a comeback. He can do this. He can do that. But when it comes to a Muslim Salikov, it's like I just saw a 40-year-old man get knocked out. What's next, brother? So that's just the problem here. But what I will say is Raul Rosas Jr., same as Eileen Perez, should be able to go in here and continue winning. And then when he gets up against somebody who takes the craft as serious as him, or as Rob Font in a way too, but Rob Font unfortunately is at the physical level. Raul Rosas Jr. has been ahead of his prime for a really long time. He's very athletic. He's still growing as a young man. I think Raul Rosas Jr. is definitely the only option to take here.
I disagree entirely. We have seen Rob Font do exactly what he's going to do to Raul Rosas Jr. in fights before. Rob Font did it to John Masamoto. I
Mhm.
mean, this was a guy like I think Rob Font is the exact right person to take Raul Rosas down a peg here. Raul Rosas, who is out there, doing whatever he's been doing, not active for a while. Rob Font is the exact level of fighter to be the guy to say, okay, I see the attributes that you have, and I can match those and exceed those. Who was it that Raul Rosas fought at the Sphere? Was it Sumidarji?
Tercios.
No, 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 no. That was after the Sphere, I believe.
Let me double check for you.
Because that's the
At,
fight.
no, not Noche. Oh, right, Riyadh season. Ariki Lang.
Ariki Lang, thank you. I knew it was. I knew it was a dude with the single name. Yes, that fight right there is really a lot of what I would be basing this on. Raul Rosas Jr. when he's not able to get the power striking off the way that he wants to, he goes to a very clinch heavy style. And Rob Font, I believe, is going to be able to negate a lot of that. I think if Rob Font gets put up against the cage, he has an answer for that, or will have an answer for that in this instance. I don't think that you're going to be seeing Raul Rosas Jr. octopussing Rob Font the way that we saw that with Ricky Tercios. So I think that Rob Font has an answer for a lot of what Raul Rosas brings to the table.
Surely Raul Rosas is looking at Daniel Zellhuber and knows that there's a lot on his plate right now. If you come out here and you fuck up, I mean, Mexico ain't got nothing. They got Jose Delgado, and you guys don't even like him. Fuck
They've
it.
got Santiago Luna coming up right
True.
behind him. Right? In fact, we found out that, he's younger than Rosas now. So I mean, like, that could be your next golden ticket Mexico Viva guy.
I've heard enough. Get Raul out of here. Get the other guy.
So I mean, well then, final answer then. You still sticking with Raul?
I'm gonna stick with Raul Roses Jr. I know everybody in the chat is coming around to the Rob Font pick because Raul looked, not great in the last fight, and the Matsumoto fight with Rob Font, of course. But guys, this is a generational athlete.
It says who? Says the organization?
Dude, what did Jake Paul say in that video? Dude, who gave you the paper to write? So
Exactly.
if I want him to be a generational athlete, he could be whatever he wants. He came to the UFC at like 18. But no, he's we gotta believe in him to be able to save bantamweight, because if not, we ain't got much. We ain't got much else, guys. So
Raul
hopefully,
Rosas has one loss on his record. Who is that to?
let's find out. It's probably
Not Chris Gutierrez, but
Christian Rodriguez.
Christian Rodriguez. Exactly. Does that not color your opinion in any slightest way? I mean, granted, it was his first fight in the organization, so maybe you give him that leeway. But like, if Christian Rodriguez was able to do it,
Well, Christian Rodriguez actually was doing very good against a lot of prospects. He even was able to beat Austin Bashi. But the problem is now that I'm seeing, because that's a very good pool. Christian Rodriguez is a very good pool, specifically for this matchup, because Rob Font kind of does carry a lot of those big brother aspects to his game. So if Raul Roses can get spooked by him, then it is open game. But I'm gonna make it interesting. I'm gonna stay with Raul Roses Jr. and we are gonna stay split on this pick.
I like it. I'm okay with that. But last thing I'll say about this is that Rob Font, I do believe, has become a little bit of a gatekeeper, but he gatekeeps for that elite level. It's almost the Dan Ige kind of situation where it's like, think of the people who got through the gate. David Martinez, we were literally just talking about him winning his fight against Cheeto. He did not let Gene Masamoto through the gate. Gene loses his next fight. So it's like there are elements to this that, like, if Raul Rosas really is that guy, then let him go through the gate. I mean, like, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that. If he wins this fight convincingly, that'd be great. But I do think that this is like the last line of defense before that that next level of the next echelon. And Rob Font is exactly the guy to make or break.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Good deal there. All right, next up is Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. Brother, battle of the older guys here. What are you thinking about this one?
This one is definitely going to be fun. I mean, Drew Dober is always a good time. Michael Johnson coming up on 40, but Drew Dober is not too far behind, of course. And what can you say? I mean, you can only expect that there's going to be a finish in this one. But Michael Johnson, honestly, guys, he's still very, very fucking fast for that age. So shout out to him. But I'm definitely gonna have to take Drew Dober. Just
I
saying.
mean, it's okay here that you did that, and I'll tell you why. Do you know this fact about Drew Dober that he has beaten every person of color that he has ever fought?
I know something of the story. Yes.
That I believe is the story there. That's when I saw he was matched up with Michael Johnson, and a lot of people were saying, "Tough luck, Mike." That, I think, is what they are referencing there. That being said, Michael Johnson, as you said, is very fast still. Michael Johnson is a guy who wins fights when he is supposed to lose them and loses when he is supposed to win. That also gives me a lot of pause. There are a lot of elements to this fight that make it very interesting to me. Drew Dober, tough guy, but at this point in his career, very, very beatable guy. I mean, we have seen him get dropped and knocked out. We've seen him get pulverized at times. I mean, like, Drew Dober has been through the ringer in many different ways, still out here trying to make it happen for himself. I love both of these guys. I'm actually a really big fan of both Drew Dober and Michael Johnson. That said, I just think that at the current stages that they both are at, based on the performances that we have seen from them recently, I think that Michael Johnson still has more of the things that make him a great fighter currently than Drew Dober does. I think that Drew
Oh,
Dober has lost a lot of the elements that have made him once great.
but Drew Dober is still facing people that are decent competition. I mean, this dude faced John Silva just not long ago, and he lost, got TKO doctor stoppage or whatever you want to say. But I mean, Michael Johnson's going against the dude that he just got fraud checked again by a 40-year-old. So it's not like the greatest competition that he's coming up against either. But I I just can't, God, their records are fucking abysmal. Jesus Christ, over 15 losses each. But it is what it is. I would just like to believe that my guy Drew Dober is going to get this one done.
And I would be completely happy if that is the case. Like I said, a fan of both of these guys. This is one for me that I'm like, may the best man win. I don't really want there to be a loser kind of thing. But like I said, I really just think that based on what we've seen, especially like you can go back to the Zellhuber fight with Johnson. I mean, I think that that was an extremely savvy navigation. Now we have just come to realize, of course, that Zellhuber is not that guy. So you can take that for what it is, but regardless of the opponent, you saw the elements of a fighter that can still navigate a fight very effectively, is what I took away from it. And I just think that Dober he's one of those dudes. I think he's just been hit too many times, bro. Like that really, I think, was what it comes down to. Now, Johnson, decently powerful still, I would say. I don't know if he's going to be able to actually pull off a knockout in this fight, but if there's somebody that he could still knock out at the stage that Drew Dober is at, it is Drew Dober.
Drew Dober is just a tough customer. I mean, the amount of shots that he had to take for the fight to get stopped against Manuel Torres and against John Silva. I mean, this dude just has no quit to him. But Michael Johnson, it's really tough because his striking is very, very fast. That's the only thing that I'll say. He has lightning fast punches and he is very accurate. That's the one thing that, it could stall out a powerful striker like Drew Dober. And his style is it's very awkward because he's kind of a short fighter, so he stands very straight up on his toes. And I don't know how he's gonna do it, but I've never genuinely thought that I know how this dude's gonna perform. I'm just gonna go ahead and wing it. He's gonna get this one done. Shout out Drew fucking Dober.
And shout out to Drew Dober indeed, and shout out to both of these guys. But I am sticking with my guy Michael Johnson here. I think that Drew Dober should be sunsetting his career. I mean, and I've been saying that for about 3 to 5 fights now at this point. Like Drew Dober, it's even in victory here. I said in the last fight, I think it was like the fight against the Canadian guy that he had fought. He got the win.
Prepelic.
Prepelic, exactly. Yeah. So I said, yo, dude, you got a great win in this fight, even with the the unfortunate foul and all that. But whatever. Regardless of that, I said, go out on a high note here, my guy, please. But he just keeps going. So I'm just saying, I think that Drew Dober, the time's got to be coming up at some point. Same for Johnson, really. But shout out to both of them. May the best man win.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up down the line here, this is an interesting fight to me. This is Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, versus Bruno Ferreira. Of course, Ferreira coming off of his victory over Marvin Vittori, and RoboCop, a dude who just nearly murdered a man.
Yeah, I have never been big on Bruno Ferreira. Like he is fun, he is fine. He's a big finisher. He gets knockouts. He's got grappling now. It's fine. But I always forget, and I'm not going to forget it this time. And I know this doesn't mean anything, but we often always forget how fucking ginormous RoboCop is. Bruno Ferreira is a very small, undersized welterweight. He's very thick, but he misses weight and he's short.
Middleweight.
Yeah, excuse me. But he misses weight and he's very short compared to everybody else. Gregory Rodriguez is a lot more massive and I mean potential for missing weight, sure, but I don't think that's going to happen. He's normally pretty professional about it. And if Bruno doesn't get his weight under control, I mean, I don't know what else to say because he's not going to make it at light heavyweight. So he needs to make weight here and then also win the fucking fight. But I don't know if both of those are going to be possible because he's going to be dead on the scale if he makes it, But
Yeah.
it is what it is. So I'm going to take RoboCop.
I also am taking RoboCop in this fight. I like Fajeda. I think that his underdog story has been, an admirable one. The weight miss in the last fight definitely does stick out to me, of course. But all of what you said is very true. I mean, he does like this is kind of a make or break because he really doesn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I think that RoboCop. I think the big thing about RoboCop to me is that obviously there was the time where the Cannoneer fight comes to mind just immediately with the fact that like if you wear him out, like he can be overwhelmed. I think it seems like, and maybe I could be proven completely wrong with this fight. This was actually be a good fight for this to be the case, but it seems like to me that he might have been working on some of his cardio issues to be able to make it through the 3 rounds, to keep up the same level and pace through 3 rounds, so that he doesn't gas himself out and become very susceptible to striking and to grappling and whatnot. I mean, if that is the case, if my thought process is correct there, then I don't think that Bruno has much of a leg to stand on aside from trying to take him down. If he does, if he gets his hands on him and takes him down, maybe there's something for him on the ground. We have seen Fajeda be pretty effective with his grappling at times, more so than maybe we would even give him credit for before seeing it. But I just think that RoboCop has a better power base than he does, and that's going to be a big difference in this fight. Like, because really, if you think about the Marvin Vettori fight, he was doing a fine amount of damage. Like his output was decent. And we know that Marvin Vettori is very tough, so it's not like he was going to knock him out, but it still waned over time. And I don't think that anything that I saw even early in that fight leads me to believe that he's going to be able to knock out RoboCop.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Mm.
all right, is that nothing else on that?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm just really set. I mean, they're both tending they're gonna gas out. It's gonna be a very sloppy fight past the second round if it goes there.
True.
That's all that I'll say.
Absolutely. Shout out to iGrow Fighting, by the way. See you in the chat, brother. Appreciate you.
Hell yeah.
All right, next up is Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long. What are you thinking here?
We looked at Cody Garbrandt's record in the Discord just a little bit ago earlier today, and if you look at it, I mean, other than the win against Dom Cruz, I mean, he loses to a bunch of bad people. I mean, TJ Dillashaw, sure, that's fine. Great fighter. Okay, Pedro Munoz. Okay, Rob Font. Okay, KKF. Okay, that's at 25 too, by the way, where he went down. Anyway, Davis at Figueiredo submission, and then Honey Barcelos unanimous decision. I mean, his only wins are against people that are named Rafael Asunakau and then Trevin Jones and then Brian Kelleher. So, I mean, people that I've never heard of, nor do I think I need to listen.
No, no, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I mean,
No,
like, yeah,
but like all I'm saying is it's unfortunately the reality to it. Cody Garbrandt was a former champion and I would love to root for him. And he, again, is another person like Michael Johnson who is just lightning fast, still lightning quick. They still have the punch speed of whatever animal is as fast as they come. Zhao Long, though, I also don't know if I can really bet on this dude. Like, I mean, he is fun and he is good, but like, he's not fast compared to what Cody is. I mean, Cody could, if Cody really is locked in, I know looking at the names, guys, it will not tell you that this dude still has it. But the footwork and the hand speed might be able to win him this fight. And I know this is crazy. And I don't know what the numbers are. And this is the worst part because he's probably like a fucking plus 7,000. And I'm supposed to fucking act like I'm betting on him. But with the hand speed, with the accuracy, with the footwork, I'm going to take Cody Garbrandt to win this one.
that is a risky proposition right there, sir. I understand the thought process, and I also agree with you when it comes to Zhao Long. I don't get the same feeling of like this dude has like the elements of greatness that are going to carry him through up all the way to the top kind of thing. But Cody Garbrandt, most specifically, and that you can call this recency bias if you want, but I really don't think it is. The Hani Barcelos fight, he fought tremendously poor. And I'm talking about fight IQ poor. And this is a guy who, like you said, I mean, he has already been at the top of the heap. I mean, this is a guy who, by this point in his career, also a guy who's changed camps to try to become better. He's done all the things that you're supposed to do to become the guy that you want to be in this sport. I mean, especially now, 14-7. The losses have creeped up to the halfway point. You would think that fight IQ would be the last thing. A guy with a glass chin, you would think would have the best fight IQ. You need to be able to navigate a fight so effectively because you know you are weak in being able to take the strikes. he does not have that. Cody Garbrandt, unfortunately, is just not an intelligent fighter, and that's nothing against him personally. I'm talking about when it comes to the fight. What we saw against Hani Barcelos was a dude who was, first of all, thinking he had an overinflated sense of what he was doing in that fight early on in it, which allowed Hani Barcelos to get his game plan off. And then Hani Barcelos took that thing and ran with it to the point that Cody could not catch up. That to me signals a fighter who is not going to be able to break that mentality if it's happening this late in the game. I don't know enough about Zhao Long, like in the big picture, to know if that's going to be something that is going to overwhelm him, like if he's going to be susceptible to the traps and all those things that Cody sets. But what I do know is that Cody is not a person who I think is going to be able to do the things that he wants to do, and Zhao Long probably is.
The thing that I have a question about for Zhao Long is, will we get to see him do his iteration of the point to the mat? You know, where it's 2 minutes left in the first round and he's like, just right fucking here. And then he hits him with the you there, right here. Love
Uh,
him for that.
if he does that, Cody will probably oblige him, and that might be the death of him.
Yeah, well, it was nice knowing him.
All right, so you're locked in on Cody
I'm
Garbrandt?
locked in on Cody. You're taking Zhao Long,
I
yes?
am taking Zhao Long. Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right. We got a couple that we're differing on this week. So good deal there. All right. Next up is Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Now, before we talk about this fight, yeah.
Refresh your page.
Oh, shoot.
Oh
Uh-oh.
wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you're right. They added extra fights. I wanted to tell you. Yes. So
Oh,
while we were on here, they added some extra fights. This is still the one that's in order, but there are some newer ones later. Sorry. Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, so good. Well, good deal. Breaking news. We have more than 10 fights. Wonderful. Okay, well, then, so back to this fight. This is Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Before we get into this fight, we should probably, for full disclosure, say that a member of our Discord and a member of our chat is a teammate of Dante Johnson. So, that should just be out in the open for full transparency. That will not be affecting how I talk about it, and I'm sure that Chase will speak as openly and freely as he would normally as well. That being said, Cody Brundage has been Mr. fucking unpredictable slash, I don't, how do you even describe Cody Brundage when it comes to the UFC? This guy has the craziest fights of all time, not in a good way, and ends up in these situations that he really shouldn't be in. Then when he has a normal fight, he doesn't win that fight. What is there left for Cody Brundage in the UFC at this point? Period.
Nothing much that I would say I'm excited to look out for. Dante Johnson is a prospect that has some decent hype, and I mean, I'm not gonna go ahead and say the guy who's 11-8 is gonna pull out a win against anybody. I mean, almost as many people has beaten him as he's beaten, and if you want to count for the no contest, the disqualifications, and all these other things that go into Cody Brundage's story, I mean, I'm just going to go with the fighter with the cleaner slate here. I'm not taking Cody Brundage because he has proven that he is willing to lose fights in the most over exaggerated ways possible. Dante Johnson's undefeated. I haven't seen him look like a loser yet. I'm going to go ahead and take my guy.
Yeah, I mean, what I would base my opinion on in this fight is what we saw out of Johnson in the Cedric Dumas fight. I mean, now, granted, very different styles, even regardless of Cody Brundage and everything that comes with him. I mean, Cody brings a different set of skills than Cedricus does to a fight off rip. But with that being the understanding, I saw really solid movement out of Johnson. I saw very quick wrestling. He's very fast on the ground, and that I think is going to be a big factor here. Just the speed of movement when it comes to transitions, I think, is going to work in his favor. It will also help him with getting undershots. Johnson is a little bit of a shorter guy, so he's already going to be someone who has to be a little craftier when it comes to his movement. I think it's going to work in his favor. Brundage is a guy who has bursts of speed, but does not have consistent output to match that. You know what I mean? Like, he's punctuated, I would say, at his best. And I think that Johnson's going to have a lot easier time getting around anything that Cody brings into this fight. And then if there's something crazy that happens, chalk it up to fighting Cody Brundage.
Absolutely. And to shout out Mank one more time since he's here up late. I am not picking a massive underdog for once. You just missed me pick Cody Garbrandt, by the way. So we'll have to see how that actually turns out. But for now, yes, Dante Johnson is going to be my pick here.
I also am taking Dante Johnson in this. And at this point, too, with Cody Brundage being 11-8-1, I got to believe, even though I don't think that he necessarily deserves it as much as other people, the time has to be ticking on Cody Brundage's clock, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah,
So it's
100%.
kind of make or break. And if he uses that to make this his fight and be like, I am not going to be cut from this roster, so be it. But like you said earlier, I mean, you've seen very good things out of Johnson so far. Cody Brundage has been the biggest mixed bag that you could ever imagine.
100%. 100%.
All right. Ricky Tercios is fighting Alberto Montez, who does not have an image here on ESPN. So this is a dude with a gray image in his little circle. I got to believe that this is a contender series man over here, Chase. What do you think?
Yes, this guy got a submission in the second round on Contender Series. I couldn't tell you anything other than that about him. He fights out of Venezuela, and Ricky Tercios has not necessarily proven to be cream of the crop. So if he gets beaten by a guy coming out of the Contender Series on his debut kind of deal, not looking great for Ricky's placement in this organization. But with that being said, no way is Ricky Tercios going to lose to a guy on his debut. I mean, he's not necessarily the most skilled, but if you're going to tell me a guy who's a submission artist is going to come in here against Ricky Tercios, come on. Like, Ricky Tercios is pretty decent. I'm pretty sure Raul Rosas Jr. submitted him, but I think he was sick or something that week. There was something going on with Tercios that did not allow him to beat Raul Rosas
No,
Jr., I believe.
no, it was that the fight was supposed to happen one week and then it got moved to the next week because one of them was sick.
Gotcha. Anyway, about it, I'm gonna take Tercios. I'll take him.
Yeah, I also am taking Ricky Tercios. I have been underwhelmed by Ricky Tercios in the UFC. Ricky Tercios is another Ultimate Fighter alum that has not lived up to the mantle of Ultimate Fighter that we have said time and time again should be what an Ultimate Fighter alum is. He's a guy that I think has kind of let me down in a lot of ways based on what I thought I knew about him. But that being said, it goes back to what we always say about the Contender Series. And I hate to be a broken record on this, guys, because I know you hear it week after week when it comes to these newer guys. But a guy who gets a submission on the Contender Series, who were those guys? Who were the people that he fought? What did
Who
we
give them
actually
black
see?
belt?
Right, who give them black belt, brother? Exactly. Who does this? So I mean, like, it's always that same mentality for me. Until I see it in practice in the UFC, it's going to be very hard unless it's something very specific where I'm like, that's the thing. Like John Paul Bosniani, that's one where it's like, okay, I saw enough things in that fight, and then based on who his opponent was, I'm like, I think that makes sense. A fight like this here, based on what we have already seen, and the fact that Montez didn't make enough of an impression on me to be like, oh, that's a guy. I got to go with Ricky Tercios. I think that the thought process checks out on this. If he comes in and has the most amazing performance of his life, so be it. I will certainly put that as the new thought process about him personally. But until then, got to go with what I go with.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up on the list here is Cody Durden versus Naemdragal Termendemberel. Yes, I think I almost got it.
I think you did actually a very good job, but this one is interesting because you have Cody Durden, who at this point is a veteran of the flyweight division. He has been up against the best of the best and some of the not the best, and he doesn't normally win against them. But the problem is Niam Jargel is somebody who he was in the road to the UFC. I'm pretty sure he was in the UFC already before this.
Yeah,
Yes, he had.
we've seen him fight before.
Yes, he was in the UFC and then ended up going back to the road to the UFC and then winning by submission on there. So now he is back once again in the UFC going against Cody Durden, who is a decent step up in competition compared to any unranked kind of person that you can find in flyweight. A lot of experience against Niam Jargel. The only thing that you can say about Niam Jargel is that he's Mongolian. I mean, there's nothing really else to hang your hat on. This is the guy who's representing Mongolia in the UFC. You have to just pray that this dude's a Chad and he's going to get this one done in whatever way that he can. You know he has grappling. You know he's got some submissions because he did it on road to the UFC. Is that going to work against UFC guys like Cody Durden? Probably not. So you're going to have to strike. And we know Cody Durden can get punched in the face. Plenty of dudes have done it to him, and there have been a handful of them have finished him doing that way. So Niam Jargel, let's go ahead and get a fucking dub, brother.
Are you going with Termendemberel?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Wow. Okay. I am going to go with Cody Durden on this one. I like you kind of outlined there, in the organization, back out of the organization, back again. Cody Durden has seen a lot. He is definitely the exact fighter that you need to be able to beat to be of the UFC caliber. So this should be a fight that if Temin Dembrell is a dude who can hang with the rest of the flyweight division, he needs to be able to beat a Cody Durden. That being said, I was underwhelmed in his last performance. I remember the first fight of his, and I said, look, I'm very happy that there's a Mongolian in the organization. That's really cool. But like, as for the actual fighting, I didn't really see anything that stood out to me as like somebody that you can really hang your hat on. I think that Cody Durden has shown that he has a skill set that he can get off of the ground against people who don't come in with like a solid game plan that is very well defined for him specifically. Will Temin Dembrell have that? He could, but based on what I know of each of these guys and what I have seen, I'm just going off of what I know, and I know that Cody Durden can win fights even with the times that he hasn't.
This will be interesting. I really like this fight here.
I do too, actually, and I'm hoping that Temin Dembrell can prove me wrong on this one, because it would be kind of cool to see like, okay, this guy like has actually made the improvements and can hang with the flyweights. But I'm going to stick with Cody Durden for now.
Hell yeah.
All right, down to the early prelims. This is Sumadarji versus Jesus Aguilar. My dude Sumadarji, I mean, granted, he is coming off of a very nice knockout of my good friend Cody Gibson, but Jesus Aguilar on the other side of it, I don't know. I mean, like, I think that it's going to be a tough fight for Sumadarji.
Sumerdarji has 6 submission losses.
Yeah.
Jesus Aguilar has 7 submission wins of his 12 professional bouts. This may not end in submission, but I'm going to go ahead and say Jesus Aguilar is going to have the threat that makes Sumerdarji not want to engage with him. And I think it's going to be the reason that Jesus Aguilar is going to be able to get some sort of one up on him in this performance. And I like Jesus. He's the funny thing is, so Jesus Aguilar, he's 12-3. The only people that he's ever lost to, other than his like first bout, yeah, he lost his first bout ever. The only people that he's lost to, Tatsuro Taira, Rafael Estevam, 2 undefeated fighters. Well, Tatsuro potentially split decision with Roy Val, whatever you want to say, but 19-1 or whatever it is. I mean, that's the only dude that's beat Aguilar. And
True.
then Rafael Estevam, who's also undefeated. So is Sumerdarji that guy, or is Jesus Aguilar gonna actually just make some magic happen?
Well, and also correct me if I'm wrong, but Sumadarji generally fighting at bantamweight, right? He's moving down for this fight.
That potential. I mean, if he fought Cody Durden fought Ariki Lang, I
Cody,
think.
uh,
Cody Gibson.
Cody Gibson. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Ariki Lang. I think.
Oh, was it Ariki Lang that he got knocked out by?
I think so. Let
Oh,
me
maybe I'm
find
sorry.
out for you.
That's my bad. If I'm mistaking that, then that's on me.
Yes, give me 2 seconds and I can find that out for you.
Well, okay. I mean, either way, I'm trying to think because what Sumadarji fought Mitch Raposo. That's a flyweight. Yeah, he might. Maybe. I think you might be right.
I forget who we were looking at to bridge Sumerdarji with somebody.
Cody Gibson. But,
No, was it Raul Rosas? Ariki Lang. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's who it was. Yes, Ariki Lang beat Cody Gibson.
Gotcha. Okay. So sorry. There you go. That's what I had said before, is that I mixed those two up. That is on me. All right. So then, with that being the case here, yeah, I think that what you're saying really tracks, though. I mean, Jesus Aguilar with the submission wins, Ariki Lang being a submittable guy, or Ariki Lang, Sumerdarji. Jesus Christ, yeah, I really am going off the rails with this one. Yeah, Sumerdarji being a dude who has been finished by submission before. Jesus Aguilar, literally everything you said, Chase. I mean, you sold me with all of what you said right there. I think that everything tracks down to the people that Jesus Aguilar has lost to. I'm with it.
This dude don't fit into him, you know?
Correct. Bingo. Exactly. So I will go with that, and I will get myself out of this this hole that I have dug myself into with Sumadarji and Ariki Lang.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up is Rafael Tobias versus Dair Nurgashai. Oh, buddy, Dair Nurgashai is back. We are so back, boys. This is Mr. Wipe His Eyes.
You know what's funny? I know nothing about our boy Rafael Tobias, but his nickname is Bipolar.
There you go. I mean,
and he's a shootbox guy too, but this is a different Monstro, shootbox Monstro. He's 22 years old. Holy shit!
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 6 submission wins. So, at light heavyweight, is he gonna be a threat when it comes to the grapples? I mean, he has 5 TKOs, knockouts or whatever, but Dyer Nergej is not necessarily that good of a prospect. So,
I have never been impressed by Dair Nergashe, not even on the Contender Series when he got the knockout to get the contract. I said, this guy does not appear to me to be of the caliber of this organization. He has won, I believe, one of his fights in the UFC. I think he lost one of them. I think that's, if I'm not mistaken. But, again, it's going against a guy in
Salty
Tobias.
Baldiev. Oh, he got subbed twice in the UFC by
Oh,
Brenton Ribeiro and then Salty Baldiev. Holy shit, bro.
well, it told me everything I need to know. This is one of the few times that not knowing the opponent, I mean, like I have to go off of what I do know, and what I have seen out of Dair Nurgashai is not impressive ever. So, I think it might be a huge gamble. I will roll the dice on it, but Rafael Tobias, I think I'm going to have to go with him because Nurgashai has never been it to me.
Nergashai, unfortunately, he's 28 years old. And then Tobias is 22 years old. I know I'm not the biggest guy to say that Nergashai is that good, but he's 28 years old against a 22-year-old dude. I'm just maybe thinking that he might be able to. I'm not going to confidently say that he's going to be able to use anything to his advantage, but I'm going to pick Dyer and I'm going to pray for the best on this one. Let me just say that.
Fair enough. And I mean, look, he is a guy who has UFC experience. Now, we did see that, if Tobias is shooting for singles or doubles, he's a dude who has a kick knockout. I mean, that's how he got the contract. So maybe he can use his knees. Maybe he can get the kicks off. There are some elements that could lead you to believe that there is hope there. But it really comes down to the fact that I have never, not one time, been impressed by him. So I'm going to roll the dice.
Hell yeah. I like this one. Splitting the pick.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up is Jung Young Lee versus Gaston Bolaños. What are you
Ilia
thinking?
Taporia from Peru.
Right. Yes, the Peruvian Topuria.
Um, I'm. Oh God, 2 straight losses. You lost to Hyder Emil. That's right. Knocked out in the first round by him. Oh, Bolaños though has 5 losses compared to his 8 wins. This is why would they put this on this card? Can anybody tell me why this is on this fucking card, bro?
This card, like when you told me that there were new fights added to this card, I was a little excited. And as we have gone down this card, it has gotten worse and worse.
Yeah, it's these are bad. I'm gonna take the Korean guy and pray for the best.
I think that that's a solid thought process here. I have to say this, and I take no joy in saying this, especially considering that we just watched Inca FC and I enjoyed that card. Peru has just not graduated amazing fighters to the UFC, and I don't. It's nothing against Peru. I got all the love in the world for Peru, but I have seen Peruvian fighters just consistently losing. Gaston Bolaños being one of them. So I think that I also have to go with Jung Young Lee here, just because I've not been wowed by anything that I'm seeing out of Peru and out of Bolaños. I mean, this is a dude who is a beatable guy. He has been beaten enough times to show that. I mean, 8-5, he's almost 50-50 on the record at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So,
this will be a fun one. Maybe, hopefully for a finish. I'm gonna take the Korean guy because they normally fight like they're ready to put their life on the line for it.
yeah, absolutely. And this could be a nice way to, to have Lee be a little bit more pronounced in people's minds.
Yeah.
All right. And last up, rounding this thing out, is Luke Fernandez, another Contender Series alum, versus the greatest actor of them all, Rodolfo Bellato. What are you thinking?
I know people aren't gonna like this one, and I know this is a layup for our Contender Series guy because they want Rodolfo to they want him to feel the repercussions of what he had caused from that night with Paul Craig. But Bellato is a UFC experienced guy. 6-0 coming into the organization. Clearly, they're just like, they have hopes that he would just finish him in the first round and get on to the next guy, is what I'm reading from this. But Bellato can take a punch, man. I mean, I've seen him get almost knocked out by Ihor Potieria on short notice, but the fact is he didn't, and he came back and beat him by TKO. Yeah, that was years ago, and that's the only only fight that I can ever talk about with Bellato that he did anything that I can remember. But the fact is, he fought through it. And if you want to be one of those people that think that he wasn't acting against Paul Craig, fine, so be it. I'll be on your team here, and I'm going to take Bellato.
You know, I like the thought process of it, and I mean, really, like as much as Bellato is like an unsavory character based on some of his previous conduct, he is only 12-3. I mean, 12-3-1. You know, this is not the worst record that you've seen. I mean, you've seen plenty of fighters with 12-3-1 as the record and have been much more lauded than him.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I think as always with the Contender Series, it comes down to the UFC experience to me. Luke Fernandez, I'm looking over the stats though. I mean, the significant strikes and the strike accuracy is like, I mean, 100% significant strike accuracy. That's kind of
I
wild.
I think it's because he just landed like one
That right.
strike in Contender Series, yeah, and it just probably
Exactly.
knocked him out.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going off of limited information here, and he only has the 6 fights. But again, that speaks to the same thing: 6 professional fights versus the 15, 16 that Bellato has. I think that it makes sense to go with the more experienced guy.
Oh, yes, I remember this guy. So this is, if you remember his name is Rafael Pergentino, and he just didn't. He knocked him out in 15 seconds, basically.
Exactly. Like we don't get enough information out of those quick knockouts, man. I can't go off of that. They're like, who are the 6 guys that he has finished? You know, or the 6 guys that he has fought? What was the Pergentino like outside of the organization? I mean, all these things. That's not enough information, not enough data. Got to go with what you know. And even if it is Adolfo Bellato, I still think that there's more to the substance.
This was on the same episode as Emmanuel Rodriguez's Contender Series episode, and the Martinetti, and then Volodine, and then Chanko, John Pork. He was
Ah,
also on this.
a
Great episode.
memorable. Yeah, I say what an iconic episode that was. But so I guess we're locking it in. Both of us going Bellato on that.
If you are going Bellato, then we are both locked in for Rodolfo Bellato.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Those are our picks for the upcoming UFC 326. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. As always, chat, we appreciate you guys. You can watch these fights along with us while we watch them live. I will be at youtube.com/@YamaShow for my watch along. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you for yours.
Absolutely. You guys can find me doing the watch alongs for UFC on youtube.com/@CP Smalls.
I am on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook at Yama Show. Make sure you are following the socials. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. Thank you again to everybody who's hung out with us for this one. We have had a very active chat for this, and we really appreciate that. Of course, MMA on Film is around the corner, so keep your eyes out for that. Watch alongs probably happening during the week. Possibly some other content if there's something worth talking about in that regard. But as always, there's always new stuff coming out on the Yama channel. So make sure you are always tuned in. We appreciate you greatly. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.